Launching the stream. All right, Ms. Matias, we are live. We are streaming and recording. You may proceed with the public review session.
Good morning. This is the New York City Board Public Review Session for October 22nd, 2024. Please be reminded that there are no public testimony during view session. For the record, Commissioner Sheffield will be joining us remotely. The first item is decision 2023-41A through 2023-46A, Long Street Avenue, the Bronx. We will be calling this at the end of our calendar. And to reopen. Okay. Moving forward with the calendar. Zoning calendar, continued hearing items. Item number 21, 2022-65BZ, 2503, 2519, Coney Island Avenue, Brooklyn.
I think the analysis that we need to meet the findings of the special permit, it's still is.
Microphone.
So the analysis related to the special permit needs to be responded to, especially, and that requires DOT review for the and also the noise analysis under review. So because of those, we cannot close this. We will hear it at the public hearing. Sorry.
Cameras, please.
Thank
Make
you.
sure everybody's cameras.
Thank
are on. Item number 22, 2023-12BZ, 230-15 Merrick Boulevard, Queens.
Okay. So the applicant has made its submission pursuant to the new ZEO special permit 73311 for an accessory drive-through, and a revised statement of facts and findings have been provided. Plans have been modified, and the proposed changes are in response to Councilmember Brooks Powers' letter to the applicant dated 7/27/2024. And in that letter, council member asked the applicant to address some of the concerns that I'm going to read out, specifically that the restroom for the customers be accessed from indoors and not from outside. Parking spaces be provided and designated for ADA. And ADA customers, I mean, and wanted a clarification regarding trash pickup operation to mitigate any rodent and sanitation implication. So with regards to the ADA parking, the parking requirement is the requirement for the as of right eating and drinking establishment. And there are requirements that a certain amount has to be set aside for ADA parking. I believe in this case, the applicant is providing 3 ADA parking spaces of the total 9 required accessory parking spaces. And in addition to comments from, I think from DOT and also from the board, curb cut widths have been reduced. And my only comment is, as I was looking at the drawings, in the previous drawing, I did not notice a canopy over the menu board. And in this current drawing, there is a canopy that is being proposed over the menu board and the speaker post. I would like the applicant to add on a BSA drawing 009 drawing sheet that was submitted on 10/17/2024. That should be part of the approved set of plans. It was a separate one that was provided, that should be provided. And I think in that diagrammatically, it also shows where the proposed restrooms would be. The hours of operations has been modified to 9:30 a.m. to 12 a.m. Sunday through Thursday, and 9:30 to 1 a.m. Friday to Saturday. So going through the findings of 73-311, A was met, B, C was fine. With regards to D, the applicant states that the projected traffic volume would be a maximum of 108 vehicle trips during peak hours. and this would not exceed the carbon monoxide screening threshold as defined in the 2021 SECRA technical manual, which for this zone, the peak is 170 vehicles per trip in the area. So, and this is in response to the new findings of D, which is the air quality related. Now, regarding the buffering and landscaping on the proposed site plan BSA 002, either show the landscaping and the location and height of the acoustic fence or add a note regarding landscaping and buffering, detailing and referring to the plan sheet 007 and 008. So right now it's a little difficult to go from 002 and to identify what's being, because there is no clear height of the fence or landscaping indicated. And so the best would be for them to kind of refer to the 007 sheet and 008 sheet for those details, if they don't want to show all the detail on that initial sheet. Also on plan sheet 008, provide a sample of the proposed acoustic fence and add similar notes for the canopy. Add and refer to the applicable drawing sheet numbers. Provide that sign, the Respect Our Neighborhood sign, that lower your volume, in front of also the parking spaces. I think right now they're posted just along the rear wall, but they should also be along the parking spaces. I have a question regarding the lumen analysis. Now, estimated light level under and around the canopy is very high. And at the edge of the property line, it is about 24 or 29, and then it drops to 0 on the other side of the fence. So I would like the applicant to explain how the drop in the lumen level is proposed and is being achieved. And I think the lumen level under the canopy is quite high. So if they can reduce it, that would be helpful. Also, my question is, will the canopy lights be on after closing hours? If not, if they are going to be on, I would suggest that they consider dimming the light significantly so that there is enough light to provide the security, but not being like a sparkling light outside at that midnight hour. I have a question regarding securing the access points post closing hours. Specifically the access ways from Francis Lewis Boulevard and 230 Street should be closed post closing hours. Because these are only being accessed for drive-through purposes, and they can remain closed, and the main access way from Merrick can remain open all throughout if that's what they want. Otherwise, I think this new finding D, based on the response the applicant has provided, has been met. These are just additional comments I have with regards to the buffering, landscaping, and lumen, and securing the access ways. And DOT review is still open, and we do need, I believe, LPC sign off. Tracy, correct me if I'm...
We actually received that, so that one's set, just DOT.
Okay, so we did receive LPC sign off. Great. Okay, all right. So those are my comments. Vice Chair Shibata.
Thank you, Chair. I thought this was very responsive. I do just, and you may have mentioned it when thinking about the canopy and some of the notes, but I do see the new plans, and I would like if they could detail the restrooms on the notes of those plans, because I did not see them on the plans.
Right, I think they submitted a BSA 009 drawing sheet on 1017, and that shows the locations of the restrooms, and that can be added to our plan sheet. That's what I would.
Then I have nothing further. I
Yeah.
think they were very responsive.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I do really appreciate the applicant reaching out
To the council.
to the council member, talking and working out the issues and coming up with a proposal that works in the best interest of everybody. Commissioner Otley Brown.
I just have one question, and that is pertaining to the ADA parking spaces. So 3 of the 9 parking spaces are ADA spaces, and they are close to the walkway, but they're opposite the building, and you have to cross the parking lot. And I'm wondering how wise that is, given that the people who are parking are probably not very ambulatory. And so why have them cross a parking lot where people are coming in off of the curb cut and then zooming around to the drive-through when you have parking spots that are actually next to the building? And some of those could be perhaps turned into ADA, like somewhere in spots 1 to 4, which are along the same side as the building.
Maybe our architect would like to speak to this, but there are standard design guidelines for ADA parking stalls. Upon information and belief, they do have to be located upon the closest travel path to the establishment.
I think what
Right.
Commissioner Otley Brown is saying, there is a way to, it can be switched.
Yeah.
The ADA parking can be on the north side of the parking space. And that way, nobody has to traverse
Right.
the
busy
drive-through.
drive-through.
And you can accommodate, the question is, can you accommodate all 3 parking spaces with the required? That might be the reason why they're locating it here.
Right.
Maybe 2 of them can be located on that side. I don't know. That's something the applicant should speak to. Maybe that is so right now the ADA access is fronting Merrick. And Commissioner Otley Brown is saying, why can't it flip? And that may be as a result of, because of the additional
Right, width that you
width that
need.
is required, maybe that cannot be afforded.
Right.
That cannot be afforded
Right.
on that
If
side.
they could address.
So if they can address that and respond to it, if there's a possibility, that would be great. Yeah, they might be able to put 1, if not all.
Yeah, that would be
Um,
great.
So if the applicant can look into that and respond to it, thank you. Yeah. That was your question?
That's it.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Shedda. Ma'am.
Thank you, Chair. I have 2 main comments. One of them is related to the luminous spread. I share the comment with you. And I do believe that the way they achieve this is to like define some sort of like a barrier or something to drop the lumen from what you can see is about 29 or 28 to like immediately after the fence, it comes to 0. So if you in the computer analysis, if you specify a blind.
Commissioner Shedda.
And then it drops.
Commissioner Shedda, there was a brief freeze at your end. Can you repeat from the sentence where you say it drops?
Yes, if you specify a barrier, a specific barrier, like if you have a river and you have a flow from that river to an adjacent piece of land, if you put a dam, that means that water cannot seep from that river to that piece of land. More or less same here in the model. If they specify something like that dam, like a barrier that cannot allow light to pass, then it drops from whatever to 0 immediately after that barrier, which is in this case is the property line. So I need them to clarify about that. The second comment is regarding the noise. And in their submission, I see that they said the AVC will be on and it's going to be on all the time. Fine. The analysis that's been done and like shown in on the drawing, and I'm talking here about BSA-018.00. First of all, the distance between the menu board and the fence is indicated in the statement as 35 feet. It's not 35 feet. It's almost about 20 feet. I can show that. You give me 1 second. Oops, sorry. Yeah, here it's about 10 plus 10. It's almost 20 from the menu board to the fence. Now, if you go to the section there are two issues with that section. That one.
Mm-hmm.
Here, it shows the 54 contour. It says at 32, which is more or less at the fence. 32 is not at the fence. 32 is past the fence. This is number one. Number two, I see that the starting point here is 73. 73, that the way the AVC works, again, it measures the ambient noise. Let's say the ambient's 40, then it adds 15 on top of that. So the output by the AVC is limited to 40 plus 15, 55, not more than that. The way this diagram is built, I believe it's taking whatever the speaker can like emit, and it's running the double distance analysis over the distance between the menu board and the fence. I need them to fix the location of that contour and to fix that number to make sure that it's the ambient plus 15. And more than that, I need them to put a note on the plan saying that the AVC will be on all the time. Because if the AVC is not on, then noise will propagate to the adjacent property, which we know that the building is kind of like close. So very, very simple, that section, and fix that statement that talks about 35 feet between the menu board and the residential property line. Thank you.
So, yeah, so according to the plan, it's 32 feet, not 35 feet. As I'm looking at the plan, from the back of the menu board to the interior face of the fence, it's indicated as 32 feet.
I don't.
No, that's a typo, I believe. I believe the 32 feet is to the other side. If you go to the left of the canopy and the menu board, there are three dimensions actually. The first one is 2.5. You see that 2.5? That one?
Yeah.
That. The 2.5 is to the center of the menu board actually. And it's from here to that line. So 2.5 plus 10, that's 12 plus 9, almost 20 and change.
Okay, so there's probably something wrong in the dimension, because if you go to the right of the diagram, after 16 feet, there's an arrow that's
I see it. You're talking about this one, right? That
to the building. Okay, that is the fence.
Not to the building, it's to
Yeah.
the tip of the yellow
Yeah,
diagram.
okay, I get it. Okay, yeah, I'm reading that incorrectly because that is the fence. That X is a fence thing.
no, that thing
I get
that's
it.
like I don't know. It's the triangle. This is like the if you see that this is repeated on the fence. This is like an indication or
I-
a symbol that indicates the fence.
Yeah, I misread that X. It
Yes,
looked like
yes,
end of an arrow.
yes. Anybody can do that. Yes, I agree. It's very confusing.
Okay,
Thank you.
okay. Commissioner Young?
Thank you. The only comment I had has to do with the change that was made based on the council members' request that the bathrooms are accessible from the interior. But in the prior submission, it was very clearly stated that there were no interior seats. All of the seating was outside in this patio. So now the bathrooms are accessible from the patio, but it's referred to as interior access. So the nomenclature used is a bit confusing, but it's also shown with this patio seems to have a full enclosed and roofed. It's covered on all sides.
Yeah.
So I'd like to understand what the difference is between the patio being considered interior versus exterior. Is it climate control?
Can I just stop you right there, Commissioner Young? Partly because that's the as of right part of this whole exercise.
Right.
And our focus should just be limited to the drive-through.
Okay.
They are, as long as this is within the scope of the permitted requirement and they meet the requirements of the zoning.
I understand. Maybe I'll just say this. If the council member was given the impression that this is an interior space and it is in fact not an interior space, it would be good to make sure that the council member and her team understand that.
Okay.
I have nothing further.
Okay, that's fair. This is like, this is shedding on my computer. Okay.
Yeah, that-
My microphone cover is shedding stuff on.
Yeah, it does.
No, it's okay. Yours will too, so.
Yeah.
um,
It all does. See?
All right,
And it's my
Case?
hair. Darker.
okay. Sorry, a little bit of levity is always good.
Okay.
Thank you all.
Item number 23, 2023-58 BZ 19718 Hillside Avenue, Queens.
Okay, so this is also another drive-through. We did receive the community board vote, and community board voted to approve this application. And I would though say that this really came about after project managers reached out, BSA project manager reached out to the community board. Yeah, because at the last hearing, the applicant stated that at the February meeting, community board did not come to a resolution and there was no follow-up as a result of it. It really came out of us calling the community board and asking if there was a resolution, and the vote was taken in April. So I'm going to strongly recommend that after meeting with the community board, and even after submitting documents to the community board, please do reach out and follow up with the community board for the next steps and for the outcome of the vote. Board staff really should not be put in this position to have to reach out to the community boards and be asking and asking the community board to respond. It really should be in the applicant's best interest to do so. But in the meantime, I think most of our applicants do, but it's a reminder to everybody. Please do follow. Bless you. Okay. I don't think we had any additional comments on the last application. The only outstanding issue was waiting for the community board vote and the DOT. We need the DOT recommendation because it is part of the findings, and that's why we cannot close it. Vice Chair Shibata, sorry.
Nothing to add. I believe seeker's closed, LPC is closed.
Well, secret, it's a type 2.
It's type 2.
yeah.
LPC is closed and we're just waiting on DOT.
Yeah.
Nothing further from me.
Okay. Commissioner Otley Brown.
I have no additional questions.
Okay. Commissioner Sheta.
Same here, thank you.
Can't hear you. Can't hear Commissioner Sheta.
I'm sorry, my apologies. Same here. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Commissioner Yoon.
I have nothing further.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Item number 24, 2024-19 BZ 58-02 Northern Boulevard, Queens.
Okay. We received the community board recommendation, and the recommendation is to disapprove this application. And the reason for the disapproval is that the proposal conflicts with the ongoing community planning and board's long-term vision for Northern Boulevard corridor, which is to prioritize housing need, especially affordable housing, and that R5 zoning district should be preserved for potential residential development. And there is also the issue with traffic and pedestrian concerns with the proposed use. So based on the comments that were raised at the last hearing, applicant has made a very comprehensive submission in response to the comments, especially with regards to hardship related to irregular site with multiple street frontages, financial and self-created, and provided more information regarding operations of the site, and provided sample sites that are in operation in the US with similar kind of limitations in terms of the operation use that is being proposed for this site. Applicant did revise and clarify the as of right. In addition to that, the applicant also provided a typical as of right development of a typical rectangular interior zoning lot with one front yard. And based on that analysis, the difference between the as of right and the typical development, the differences of 2 additional units that can be achieved in a typical zoning lot with one frontage. I don't want just the applicant to confirm the floor area and the FAR for the typical as of right development, just for comparison purposes. Because in an R5, a 1.2 FAR is permitted, and in the predominantly built up 1.65 FAR is permitted. And when I just looked at the analysis, just doing a very rough back of the envelope, I think the typical comes to about 1.57 FAR, whereas the as of right is less than that. The applicant, as I mentioned, did provide a very detailed, at the hearing also it stated it, but also in its statement, provided a very detailed analysis of the business model and also clarified the hours of operation. The building height has been revised. This was a question that Commissioner Yoon had raised regarding the parapet height, and the curb widths also have been reduced. And in response to the comments regarding the landscaping along the frontages, the depth of the landscaping has been increased to 5 foot to allow for more dense planting. In addition, 2 street trees are proposed along 60th Street, and 2 electric charging stations are also proposed at the curbside of 58th and 60th Street. So I think the applicant has been very responsive to the comments that were raised specifically with regards to the neighborhood character. Regarding the financing, the revised analysis shows with the adjustment of comms, the as of right loss has been reduced. At the same time, a typical site with an as of right development also has a loss, though much reduced. So I do want to hear from Commissioner Otley Brown, who had a lot of questions regarding the financial analysis, and I want to see if the financial analysis satisfactorily responds to her comments. With regards to self-created, the applicant was asked to provide a title of ownership of the subject site and abutting site from 61 to present. Now, the deed document that was provided for the subject lot is from 1927 to 2020, while the deed document for the abutting lot 38 starts from 1983. No explanation was provided clarifying the ownership status of lot 38 prior to 1983. I'm just wondering, was lot 38 always held by Edward McNutley and Cecilia McNutley from 1961 to 1983, or what? I'm just kind of conjecturing all of this, lack of barring any information. So applicant needs to clarify that to meet the finding of self-created, that is finding D. With regards to minimal, 2 sample plans of similar boutique showrooms have been provided. The one in Scottsdale, Arizona, the size of the showroom is 4,200 square foot, containing 3 to 5 vehicles. So I have a question. What is the proposed size of the showroom, since only 1 vehicle for each of the 3 models will be on display at a time? My question is the drive-through also being counted towards the showroom, or is it not? And I need a clarification on that. I think SECRA is closed. We need an E designation for hazmat, and air quality is also closed. Ms. Benke, can you confirm?
That's correct. Yes, everything's closed besides getting the E designation number.
Okay. Okay, great. So we have SECRA closed, that's ready, good to go. And regarding the transportation, the project screens out, and that's why SECRA is closed. Thank you, Ms. Benke. Vice Chair Shibeta.
Thank you. I found the submission to be responsive. I do have the same question as it regards to lot 38. as it only goes back to 1983. Just an explanation as to why they haven't been able to get us any earlier information. I agree with everything you stated. I have nothing more to add.
Thank you. Commissioner Otley Brown.
So I agree with your site ownership question about lot 38 for starters. And then I looked at the financials and basically what they gave us a hypothetical as of right, and they gave us the actual as of right. And the hypothetical as of right has 2 more apartments, but more than that, it has just quantity. It has 2 more that are typical apartment sizes and layouts for the area. And so that's what makes it a more marketable project. And the annual rent reflects that because it's higher by about $40,000 a year. I did have some small errors that I had pointed out when I read the financial report, but I conveyed that to the applicant who submitted a financial letter clarifying all of those issues. And I'm okay with all of the answers that I received. So I have no further financial questions. I think they made the point.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Otley Brown, for looking into thoroughly and following up with the project manager for further clarification. Commissioner Shetta.
Thank you, Chair. I did look at the submission made. I believe it's very responsive. It did respond to almost all of our comments. I do believe that they met the findings, and I'm satisfied with the application.
Thank you. Commissioner Yoon.
Thank you. I thought it was a responsive submission. I have nothing further.
Okay, thank you.
Item number 25, 2024, 21BZ 204-25 Rockaway Point Boulevard, Queens.
We received community board's approval, and community board states the inadequacies of space at the current facility to meet the programmatic need of the church. Applicant has made its submission in response to the comments that were raised at the initial hearing. Board wanted more clarification regarding the programmatic need, neighborhood character, operational plan during flooding, and additional information on the plans. So regarding the revised programmatic need, it clarifies the growth in the congregation. It also talks about why what is the nexus with the basketball and the volleyball court. And while they do have currently programs for volleyball and basketball, but it's really the space is still not adequate to hold so many programs for both of these operations and additional classes for, I think, adult basketball, senior sneakers. I forget the name. That's a really nice name. I liked it. Silver Sneakers. That's what it's called. Silver Sneakers program. Special needs program, social and creative arts. So trying to coordinate all of that in the space. And most importantly, that a regulation size high school court is required, which has a certain dimension, including the runout area, and then a need for a space for visitors to sit when there are league games going on. I would say the comparison of the existing and the proposed schedule with the revised narrative, it does help in understanding the need, but I do have questions. In the programmatic need statement, page 4, there's a graphic that's provided of a high school court size overlaid with an as-of-right building option and the required clear area of that is a 10-foot overrun on all 4 sides for a total of space that would be needed for a gym that would be for a basketball court that would be 104 foot by 70 foot. Now a 4-foot high beam and it doesn't show how much of vertical height would be needed for the basketball court and for the volleyball. So I looked at the I looked at Google to look for what is a typical height that would be needed. It seems for volleyball, you need more more ceiling height clearance than you would need for basketball. So using that as the number, I looked at the height of the proposed height of the building, of the gym space. So it has a 4-foot high beam, and to the bottom of that beam, it would get to a height of 30 foot. And this would get to the total height of the building, that would be 55. Now, whereas when I looked at the requirements, 23 foot is the minimum requirement to 26-foot minimum requirement for volleyball, and 16-foot minimum to 25-foot for basketball. So my question is, the applicant needs to justify why a 30-foot high interior space is needed when reducing the height by 4 feet would achieve a 26-foot interior high space, and it could reduce the building height and the degree of the variance that is being asked. Now, going back to the total dimension of the basketball court, as I said, including the overrun, the programmatic need says it needs to be 104 foot by 70 foot. Now, to bolster that justification for bleacher seating, which is requiring a waiver for the court dimension, applicant needs to clarify in the programmatic statement how many league plays, basketball, volleyball, BT sport teams attends in a year, or is proposing to attend that they cannot attend because of the limitation of the current space, and how many would be expected to be held in the home court with the proposed development. And because my concern is when I'm looking at the plan is showing something else than what the programmatic need is saying it requires. So I'm going to go to the plan, and the plan says the need for the regulation size code has to be carried out through the proposed plan. So indicate in the proposed plan the overrun dimensions around the court and the bleacher area dimension. In the proposed plan, the dimension of the proposed building, as shown in drawing sheet A62, is 101 foot 10 inches by 79.6 inches, which is much less than the dimension that was stated in the programmatic. And in A65, a plan dimensions are adding up to 99.1 inch by 77 feet. Both are less than what it would be if a 10-foot overrun on all 4 sides, plus the stairwell, plus the bleacher is added. So, and I again did a very quick back up the envelope analysis, and I think from what the applicant is proposing, it would come to around 100 foot by 95 foot, not including the extension from the Rockaway Point Boulevard. That's that little leg that's coming out. So unless the applicant is proposing a 5-foot overrun on all 4 sides instead of a 10-foot. So it's not very clear. So what the argument is being made in the programmatic need and what is being shown in the drawings are a mismatch, and it's contradicting the programmatic need. So you need to carry this through and look through it carefully and identify what is being proposed. So please check the dimensions and the program needs as it would affect the distance between the church and the yard, and thus the waivers. So drawing sheets A63 in the proposed shows a comparison of existing and as-of-right plan. Again, it's not very helpful unless the proposed footprint is superimposed on it too. And in the proposed plan, the dimension, the width, and the extension from the Rockaway Point Boulevard are missing. Those need to be provided. I just want to go back to the as of right. So the applicant needs to really dimension all the encroachments on the plan, sections, and elevation, both in the as of right proposed and existing, and also show the required width of the yards, the distance between the buildings, and indicate the applicable zoning resolution sections. If you want, if the applicant wants an example, we can provide a sample drawing. Zoning chart is incorrect regarding the total height. It is based on sky exposure plane of 1:1 above a street wall height of 35 feet. In the zoning chart, the proposed community facility and existing community facility floor area and FAR, they're incorrect. The zoning lot, which is 40,000 square foot, has an existing community facility building, including the church and the rectory, which comes to about 20,000. So the proposed floor area and FAR should be a total of the existing and proposed. And also the total proposed floor area in A51 and A53 chart are not matching with the proposed floor area on A51. One of them is incorrect. Please make sure that the lot coverage analysis is correct, both on the plan and the zoning analysis sheet. Also on the proposed sheet A53, what is the difference between the gross floor area calculation and the zoning floor area calculation? You need to clarify why the existing gym floor area to be demolished of 5,443 square foot is more than the existing gym, which is 5,267, because again, the numbers are not matching. With regards to flood resiliency, the applicant is proposing a dry flood proving that will be provided, and deployable shields up to a height of 6'6" above grade will be provided, and these shields will be stored on site. With regards to the neighborhood character, the statement of fact I feel is still inadequate, and it has not responded to the comments that were raised by the board regarding modal split traffic. No clarification or agreement has been provided regarding the parking on the neighboring lot for the board to consider the impact of waiving parking. If this projection, if the projection is that more people will be arriving to the site by bike, then provide more on-site bike parking area. Then the reason I'm asking this question is if there is any change in ownership of the site where the vehicles are currently parked, it may not permit any parking in the future. So for the board to consider a parking waiver, and agreement commitment letter needs to be provided. Some commitment that we need to know that assures that there will be parking provided and there won't be an overspillage of parking that will affect the neighborhood and the traffic circulation in the neighborhood. So with regards to the self-created, statement of fact refers to the Breezy Point Cooperative. I want the applicant to provide that document to back up the statement. So based on my comments, I think there are still some outstanding questions I have, and I don't think finding E has been met. And there are a lot of mistakes in the SECRA form. So those need to be corrected. Those are my comments. Actually, Ms. Benke, is there any update on the SECRA?
I just checked and I still haven't seen a response to our June comments.
So please note, applicant, until we have a SECRA sign off, even if we meet all the findings, we cannot vote on this application. So please do proceed to work on your SECRA application and submit it. Otherwise, there'll be a long delay on the SECRA, and there's a queue of applications already. So if you want to get on the queue, start responding to the comments. Thank you. Vice Chair Shibeta, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Chair. That was very thorough. I have nothing to add.
Next time I won't be that thorough.
No. You can take it all.
Commissioner Otley Brown.
I have no additional comments. The one question I had dealing with the fact that their programmatic needs didn't reflect the actual gym layout because they had left out the importance of the volleyball court, they addressed, so I'm fine.
But do look through the plans because it does not meet what they're stating in the programmatic need in terms of the dimension. Because in the programmatic need, it actually is very helpful. It helped me understand what is the minimum size of the high school court and then the 10-foot runoff that is needed.
Right.
The dimension that therefore would be needed for a similar kind of court, it's not what is being proposed. And so there are mismatch in the dimensions and the analysis. So if that's the case, then the building would have to be much bigger. And therefore the waivers would be more. And I don't think the applicant has, there's somewhere something is not adding up. And so those needs to be looked at. Because if you look at the plan, the runoff right now on the right-hand side is 10 foot in dimension, 10.5 inches in dimension, which includes the runoff and the staircase and the storage area. So that cannot be a runoff. And that would be contrary. And same thing, the 10-foot runoff on both sides are not there. They seem to be more like 5-foot runoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So if that's the case, then the applicant needs to state that. If they want to put 10 foot, then the building becomes wider than what is being shown now.
Right. So you don't think it's a compromise on their part?
But they need to state that. That's
Right.
not stated. You're making the argument that you need a 10 by 10, 10-foot runoff on all four sides. But then what you're proposing is not that, then what are you proposing?
Mhm.
Then say that it's a compromise to minimize the waiver. So it's not getting me there.
Yeah, no, you're right. I had just assumed that's what it was a compromise.
No, I thought, no, if it is, then that's fine. The applicant should state that. Because if they are proposing to go with the regulatory size gym, and then at the time they go to DOB and then they find out they cannot fit that into that envelope, then they have to come back to us. So correct all of those and know what you're getting into. Thank you. Commissioner Otley, Commissioner Sheta.
Thank you, Chair. I agree with your comment, Chair, and especially the last one regarding finding A, and I have nothing further to add. Thank you.
Commissioner Yoon.
Thank you. I just wanted, on the zoning analysis form, I did ask at the last hearing that they fill in some of the data that is specific to the proposed building. Because they had some of the data for front and side yards and wall height for the proposed, but not the existing. And so there may be some confusion there with my request to get some of that to be apples to apples when there's multiple buildings on the site. So the applicant can confirm, but I think what I was looking for specifically was, we were all looking for the existing building height. We couldn't find it. We were looking for the existing side yard, couldn't find it. So, basically it's complicated, but maybe there's a way to make this less complicated. On that note, I had asked if the western side yard that's currently proposed at 5 feet could match the existing rectory side yard, which is 6 feet, so that there wasn't an additional reduction of the currently non-complying side yard. That would require moving the building either 1 foot east or shaving off another foot on the interior. But I think that would be good to match the side yard that is already there. So on the minimum size, so the required clear area seems to be much bigger than what they're proposing based on their program. Let's see, based on their programmatic needs statement. And then they're just proposing the 10-foot overruns as a sort of what appears to be, I took it as a compromise. I have not played a lot of basketball in my life, but the few times I did as a kid, you need some space to safely go out of bounds. And I think ideally you would have a lot of space, but this is for the applicant to say what is actually required to host these games and what are you compromising, and what's ideal. And then what is the compromises the chair has asked. I didn't find any issue with what they've been asking for. I had nothing further to add.
Thank you. Yeah, next case, please.
Continued hearing, item number 26, 2024, 22BZ, 1780 Grand Concourse, the Bronx.
Okay, at the initial hearing that was held on September 10th, the board seemed to be satisfied with the findings of A, C, and D, and had asked for simplification of the financial analysis to address the B and the E findings. Applicant has provided a summary chart of existing as of right and proposed use, and vertical circulations via stairs and elevators, and revise the statement of fact accordingly. Also, the statement of fact has incorporated statements from the VDA report, which I found was very helpful in walking us through what is currently existing and the pros and cons. Based on the VDA report, 3 new ADA accessible stretcher compliant elevators and 1 stair is proposed. Same is proposed in the as of right also, but the stairway in the as of right would be less. So when I was looking at the plans, the as of right plan, compared that to the existing and to the proposed, placement of these 3 elevators and the stair would result in loss of office, storage, mechanical floor spaces from floors 1 to 6, and would with a return of some increase in lobby area on floors 2 to 6, and a gain of an office area on the 4th floor. Now compare that to the proposed, where the new structure will be built on lot 25 exclusively. It would provide all the vertical circulations and will not disrupt any of the existing floors, and their occupants will be able to continue operating. And more importantly, in the as of right, the ADA ramp would still remain open to the elements, whereas in the proposed, the ADA ramp would be enclosed. So, and I think this goes to show that the building is quite, given the old building structure and obsolescence, I think it makes it difficult to convert it to the modern commercial space needs. And I think what the applicant is proposing is a very reasonable ask. But when I go to look at the financials and I'm looking at the charts that's been provided, somehow I see there's a mismatch between the floor area calculations of the analysis in the as of right and the proposed and the existing. So I think there has to be a different way of looking at it. I think the approach more should be that the proposed building is resulting in a better a functional space with more a covered ADA accessible space and an improved vertical circulation, both by elevators and stairs. So again, I think I want to hear from Commissioner Otley Brown and other commissioners about this, but I think it's there. It just needs to be framed in a slightly different way. The applicant also provided the violation information and said that there are 4 open DOB violations related to the elevators, and which were issued in 1990s, and civil penalties were paid recently. SECRA is closed, and the applicant is proposing to provide vapor barrier, and that note will be added to the plan. Vice Chair Shibeta.
Thank you, Chair. I don't have anything to add on this application.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Otley Brown.
So I agree with you, Chair, that the record needs to be clear, and as currently presented, it isn't. There's still a disconnect between the argument that building a core in the as of right building would lead to a disruption and a decrease in rentable space, which then would lead to a resolution of that problem by building the proposed that builds the core in a separate building, so that the rentable space is not impacted in the original building. So they do give us, I asked them to give us a very easy to read comparison between the existing, the as of right, and the proposed. And although the cover letter and the statement points out that in the as of right, there would be a 1,900 square foot loss in space, in rentable space, and the proposed would add like 6,000 square feet of non-rentable space. When you look at the financials and the plans, they don't reflect that. They show something different. So the plans and the financials actually show an increase of as of right space, and they show an increase in proposed rentable space. And so that's problematic. And then when you add to the fact that commercial space is usually rented exterior wall to exterior wall, that also blows a hole in their main argument. And so I think what they're going to need to do, since I asked them to clarify everything and they were not successful in doing that, they should perhaps tweak their argument or recraft it to talk not so much about the loss in space, because that's questionable, but rather to talk about the lack of efficiency of the floor plates and the resulting issues that fall from that regarding the relative marketability of the as of right because it's inefficient versus, and that could be expressed in higher vacancy rates, delayed lease up, that kind of thing that ultimately impact the bottom line in terms of how much income they can get for that. And then juxtapose that with what they could get with the proposed. I think that's a better way of framing their argument. It'll be more in line with what their uniqueness finding actually states. Now, that being said, I did look at the financials and I do have some questions still remaining that they should address. So I had asked them to revamp the site value because I felt originally it was based on the existing rent roll, which then posed difficulties when you went to the as of right rent roll and the proposed rent roll because they were keeping the rent roll basically in place. And using the actual rent roll should never be used in appraisal because what you're trying to do is control for particular unique situations regarding any one particular building affecting the overall value. So that's why we always use comparables when we do appraisals and assessments. So I wanted them to change their methodology of calculating the site value to reflect land plus a depreciated building. They did that, but of course that led to a $20 million increase in value that they really can't explain and I really don't understand. So I went through their actual assumptions and to me, there are some issues that they need to address. So for instance, when you talk about their, I'm pretty much okay with their land value because it was based on recently sold comps that are similar zoning divided by their available building area. So I was fine with that. But when it got to the depreciated building, that's where I had questions. So it's actually based, it's supposed to be based on replacement cost new, less depreciation. This is a building built in 1921 and it was altered in 1966. So the building is actually 103 years old, but if you count it back since the alteration, it's 58 years old. But in order to reset a building's actual age to an effective age, we would have to know a lot more information about what actually was done during that 1966 alteration. It would have to be a major overhaul of all of the building systems to erase 50 years of life, basically. But that's what they do, and they don't give us any information to back that up. The other issues, so let's run down the issues. They used an ORPS table to calculate depreciation. But the financials just say it's a commercial building. They don't say what type of commercial building. And there are ORPS tables for different types of buildings. There are ORPS tables for residential buildings, ORPS tables for commercial buildings, for industrial buildings. So I think we need to have a little bit more information. As I said before, they need to give us more detailed conversation about what the actual alterations in 1966 were to erase the age of the building from the actual years to an effective 58 years. Then I have to say, does that effective age that they choose of 58 years reflect an obsolete building circulation system, which is what they're basically talking about, that there's an obsolete core issue here? Or is it that the building really is older because it's also, there should be reflected in it other obsolescences, functional obsolescences? Then page 10 of the statement says the subject building's over 100-year-old internal circulation system precludes efficient movement between floors and does not include enough space to accommodate an interior accessible ramp and supplemental stairway from the grand concourse. But then doesn't this recognize that the subject building is actually closer to being 100 years old and not 58 years old? So it seems to me that the statement is undermining the financials in that respect. So I think they really need to address that. And why am I making such a big deal about that? Because that effective age is tied to a remaining building value. and that's added to the land value to give us the overall site value. And this, in this case, I think that the building value might actually be inflated, which then leads to the reason, the result of having a $20 million increase in site value. So that's why I'm really hammering this home. I need a lot more information before I could be convinced of that assumption. Then my other issue had to do with, once again, the garage and the parking spaces. So the initial comment that I made about the parking rents, and I felt that, number one, they had comparables that suggested that there should be a parking rent of $226 a month per space. And then they also had another hourly rent, but they didn't give us critical information like the total number of parking spaces that were in the building, the number of spaces that were rented monthly, the number of spaces that were rented hourly, the total income from hourly rental based on the number of hours that they think the hourly rentals are actually rented. Like, for instance, if it's an hourly spot, is it rented 6 hours a day, 3 hours a day, that kind of thing we didn't have. And then they just calculated an existing parking rent that was based on square footage with no tie-in to how much square footage relates to space, income per space per month. So that was something that they had to address. They never addressed it in the financials. All they did was acknowledge that they had lowballed the parking income and then gave us an increase in parking income. But the increase is so incredibly large. It's a $4 million a year increase in income. Now, without any justification. So if you can so quickly revise your assumption from $157,000 of income a year to $4.3 million of income a year without any backup, how do I know that you're not really getting $10 million of income a year? And you just thought, I'll give her an extra $4 million because I have space to fill with value because my site value is so incredibly high. So that needs to be addressed and the backup needs to be provided. So those are my basic questions. I have an overall issue that I talked about first. When they actually revamp the financials to reflect that statement, I want them to keep in mind those two financial questions and have those addressed or revise the assumptions.
Okay, thank you. I myself have to go back to the video to get all the details, and I tried my best to type in as much as I could. Thank you. But I think what you're saying is that just the way they have done the overall analysis is inflating the number, and it's not helping their argument.
Exactly.
In reality, the actual the cost of the building, depreciation cost maybe is less, and this jump of that 4 million maybe is less. And when you correct those based on proper backups and everything, the increase that is being showed may not be as inflated or incorrect as you're looking at.
Kinda.
Okay.
That's a summary, yeah.
What tropes? What tropes?
I'm trying to digest it. Okay, thank you. Commissioner Sheta.
Thank you, Chair. They addressed the only comment I raised last hearing, which is the violation. And I do believe nothing left to be said. Thank you, Commissioner Brown. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Yoon.
Yeah, thank you all. I have nothing further to add.
Okay, thank you.
Item number.
Chair, sorry,
Sorry,
that's
go ahead.
okay. I just wanted to let you know that the October 15th submission, they did add the vapor barrier notes to P22 and P22. Sorry, P2.2 and P20.2. So they're on there.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And just these vapor barrier nodes are associated with where the existing existing elevator core is and the addition that is being added. That's where the vapor barrier are being proposed. Okay.
Move on.
Yes, please.
Item number
Thank you.
27, 2024 BZ, 2024 BZ, 1224 Avenue V, Brooklyn.
Okay, at the initial hearing, board wanted some clarification. And applicant has made that submission. We have a revised plan where they have removed the stair from the side yard to maintain the easement access for vehicular parking. And also a corrected FAR study has been provided. I have no additional comments. I'm satisfied with this application.
Miriam.
Vice Chair Shibeta.
I'm also satisfied with this application.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Otley Brown.
I'm satisfied as well.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Shetta.
I'm satisfied with the application, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Yoon.
Thank you for the edit. I just wanted to note that the neighbor also is encroaching in the driveway. It's not, just want to note that it's going to be difficult to park, but that's not on your site. So, but thank you for eliminating the stair. I am satisfied with the application.
Okay. Yeah, and that's between the current property owner and the neighbor to figure
Yeah.
out that. But from our end, we have ensured that there won't be any encroachment.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
And thank you for
Use the vacancy.
pointing that out at the last hearing, Commissioner Yoon.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Next case.
Sorry. Okay, new case, item number 28, 2023 64 BZ, 14408 87th Avenue Road, Queens.
Okay, so we received proof of initial filing and hearing notices. Community Board has voted to approve this application. We received one objection letter, and the concern is regarding inadequate parking and school overcrowding. So this is an application for a use modification to convert an existing 3-story plus cellar with 10 units of SRO building into a 5-unit apartment building pursuant to zoning resolution 72-21. The applicant is seeking a waiver of the regulation where in R41 zoning district, use is limited to 1 and 2 family detached and semi-detached or 0 lot line building. And what the applicant is proposing, a multifamily apartment building. So this is a corner lot, an L-shaped irregular lot, and the building exists since 1911. It has been used as a 10 SRO units. And so I have one basic questions starter is that since it is an SRO building, I want to know if there is any binding contract with any government entity. The applicant needs to provide a contract document to affirm that. No CO has been received, and per Zola, it is listed as a C5 building classification, which is converted dwelling or rooming house. Applicant states that the existing building that is over 100 years old would be impractical to convert to a permitted 1 or 2 family dwelling, as the resulting dwelling units would be out of character, outsized for the neighborhood, and because of the limited market scope. And the demolition of the existing and functional building to construct a multiple building would be impractical and infeasible, as the unusual shape of the subject lot would not allow for more than a single viable structure. So going to the findings of uniqueness, I have to say, I read through the documents, looked through the plans, and it is not clear to me the hardship affecting the site. Is it the obsolescence of the existing building or the irregular lot size? Assuming the building is legally non-compliant and the building structure is in good condition as affirmed by the applicant, the building is placed in a manner that benefits from 2 deep yards. While the lot is irregular, it is not underutilized and has not affected the development potential of the site. The existing building has a reasonable size floor plate and is built to 0.69 FAR, not significantly underbuilt pursuant to the permitted 0.75 FAR. The applicant's hardship is solely based on a financial decision and not on a uniqueness finding. And, I looked through the uniqueness, financial, and the tables of comps for 2 bedrooms is not available. And the rent average on text page 8 is not matching the table. If the board were to consider the argument about the number of bedrooms, the floor area can't be seen in isolation, and it has to be tied to the number of bedrooms and unit sizes. And furthermore, I think there are just too many inaccuracies in the financial analysis. For example, a 4-bedroom, 800 and the comp that has been shown, comp number 2 for a 4-bedroom at Palo Alto Street, it's incorrect. It's a single-family home and not in an apartment building. Per Street Easy, it is a 4-bedroom, not a 6-bedroom. Similarly, with the building and the comp at 59-2558 Avenue, it's a 2-family unit with 2 bedrooms, and it has been analyzed under as a comp for 4-bedroom. So the financial analysis fraught with inaccuracies, which I'm not sure is helping the argument, and I don't even think A is there. So I just looked at B just to see what really is the market condition there. And I think, and furthermore, when I was looking at the proposed, applicant is proposing a 4-bedroom, the as of right has a 4-bedroom unit, which 854 square foot of floor area, which is extremely tight compared to the range that is being provided, that is marketable, which is 1,100 to 1,600 square foot. So again, there is a lot of mismatch in the statement and what is being stated. So I think this application is not there. And I don't know if I want to go very far with my comment notes, but I would say with regards to, I'm going to go to self-created first. The applicant provided a Queens insurance map from 1911 to establish the site in its current configuration, being in existence since then. However, the map is not tied to any of the findings. Need title ownership of the subject lot with the abutting lots 1, 9, 12, 88, 86 since 1961. And narrative of the finding is absolutely not responsive to the findings. And I don't even want to belabor any of the other findings because I just don't think it has met one, which is finding A. And without that, I think it's a little bit of a ask for the commissioners to analyze B, C, and D and E. But I just thought I would read out my initial thoughts. Vice Chair Shibata.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I did see the issues with the A. I assumed that at some point they were going to compound the irregular lot with the obsolescence of the building and make an argument through there that these two together create this difficulty and that there aren't any SRO buildings within a certain radius, which they didn't really get into. So I did have some difficulty with the A. I'm not going to belabor some of your other statements because we do share some of the same points. Frankly, the only one that I do feel somewhat better of would be the character of the neighborhood. I'm not sure that what they're proposing is going to be an affront to the neighborhood character. Outside of that, I don't think I have anything else that I can work off of just yet. But I do think that there is likely a case here, but they just haven't presented it.
I really don't think, I beg to differ. I don't think they have a case. That's my personal opinion. Commissioner Otley Brown.
Chair, I share a lot of the questions and comments that you have. First of all, do they have a certificate of no harassment or some equivalent that shows that they can convert this building and that nobody will be harmed in the process? So that's my first question. As to the as of right, is that the only thing that you can do is a super huge 2-family home with 2 weirdly sized apartments of 4 bedrooms each, which begs the question, if you could get a 4-bedroom, why not just rent a house? And that then bears out when you look at the comparables, which are houses. Is it possible they could use like two semi-detached, two-family homes as of right? And then they would only have a loss of one apartment.
Well, that's a.
I actually looked at the layout and I think the way the building would perfectly work, you can actually sell it with two semi-detached, three-story with cellar, side by side because, and then you have a 4-bedroom unit with a living room, dining room on the ground floor with two bedrooms on upper floors and a generous sized cellar in the
Mhm.
basement and with 2 parking spaces and you can sell it and that would be a perfect solution. So, and that would work very much. So yeah, I think this is, their arguments are absolutely not working in their favor. Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, so then I looked at the financials and have a number of questions. I think there are a number of errors here, a lot of them careless errors that definitely should be addressed. But well, I'll start with the site value. The category that they use for calculating the depreciated building and remaining building age. First, they calculate a replacement cost new using Marshall and Swift. The category they use is multi-residence Class C average, which when you look at the details is for brick or block with some trim. But this building appears to be aluminum siding and is probably a wood frame. I don't know if they addressed it with the architect to get their information for the basis of the assumption, but I'm thinking it's probably like a Class D stucco siding in only fair condition. It doesn't even look like it's in average condition. And if it was an SRO, I doubt it's been maintained in average condition. It's probably the bare minimum. So therefore, I think that their remaining building value is probably too high. As for the residential rents, of course, the 2-bedroom apartments, there's no comparables pages. So I want to know, how did you come up with your 2-bedroom rent prices? Another question about comparables. In what world is an 854 square foot 4-bedroom apartment only $25 cheaper per month than a 1,987 square foot 4-bedroom apartment? There's nothing addressing that. Page 30, comp number 2, and this is a quote for 86-79 Palo Alto Street. This is a 6-bedroom, 3-bathroom, single-family home for rent in a 6-story, 27-unit apartment building. End quote. Doesn't make any sense. Page 32, comp 4, 110-56 67th Road. And I quote, this is a 6-bedroom, 2-bathroom apartment in a 2-story, single-family home. Isn't this just a 6-bedroom, 2-bathroom, single-family home then? It's only one. So then how is it an apartment?
Mhm.
Then when we go to construction costs, they used a cost estimator instead of Marshall and Swift. And by the way, the cost estimator labels both estimates as of right 2-family home renovation of an existing building, even though one should be an as of right, one should be a proposed. And then why is it more expensive to do an alteration to this property than to replace it new? And I show that I point them to their own site value calculation using replacement cost new. That's actually cheaper than their cost estimator who's doing an alteration. And that alone leads me to question the accuracy of the alteration numbers. But still in all, it's not addressed. So every item that you put in the financials really is related to another item in the financials. And if you're not thinking about it holistically, you're going to run into this kind of trouble where you undermine yourself within the same report. So those are my issues.
Okay. Thank you. Commissioner Shetta?
Thank you, Chair. Long story short, I
Commissioner,
couldn't, I'm sorry,
can you start all over again? We just
Sure.
didn't.
I haven't started yet, sorry. Yeah, so long story short is I can see in any side some sort of uniqueness. Even if it's a perfect rectangle, shape is perfect. Aside that dimension 20 feet probably is a unique, like in width, because its width is 20 feet. Maybe there is no other side in a neighborhood that's 20 feet similar to it. So that the uniqueness is not like the governing finding here, but it's the hardship imposed by that uniqueness. And I couldn't see any hardship in the documents they submitted to us. They didn't even talking about the existing conditions. Even in the analysis, in the financial analysis, I was anticipating that they list the financials for the existing condition and show us that they have a problem, but I couldn't see that. So I didn't move forward with the case beyond B, and unless they prove to us that they have an issue with the existing condition, and then they proceed, I don't think it's useless to like continue with that case. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Yoon?
Thank you. I think to start, I think the use is basically a density waiver since it's residential and it's just a question of how much residential you can fit here. So it's not only that they're seeking density that's not permitted, but then they're trying to increase that density to the maximum possibly permitted under code for habitable spaces, basically using the minimum dimensions for every single room, an 850 square foot 4-bedroom. I don't know when I've ever seen such a small unit be proposed in a new construction or a renovation. So to start, I think that this is trying to triple the density that would be normally provided in this type of alteration. I don't think a uniqueness has been established. I had the same question about a certificate of no harassment in order to convert SROs. But going back to the uniqueness, the whole thing is that if they were to renovate this roughly 3,000 square foot building to 2 units, they would be way out of character with the neighborhood. So the comps for the 4 bedrooms don't ever list the floor area, but if you look at them, they're all over 2,000 square feet. So 2 4-bedroom apartments or whatever you end up doing with 3,500 or 3,000 square feet, I can't remember, is totally in character with the neighborhood based on your own comps. So the A finding hasn't been met at all to me. I think there's a number of other things. Parking, they're existing, it indicates that there's no parking spaces, but clearly people are parking in that kind of front yard area. There's only 2 parking spaces shown in the drawings. If you wanted to have 5 units, you would need 5 parking spaces. We wouldn't give you a waiver for that because you have the room for it. There's in the as of right drawings, the drawings to me make no sense. There's more bathrooms in the 2-unit scenario than the 5-unit scenario. There's no reason there would be more plumbing, like it makes no sense. So that also impacts the construction costs, which I did an uncommonly deep dive in the financials because it was so confusing to me. I didn't understand the market. I wanted to see the comps. There's some typos. Schedule A, your vacancy calculation seems off. The as of right architecture and engineering fees are higher than the proposed. So these numbers don't make any sense given that it's fewer units. And it's based on a percentage of the total construction cost. So if it's just a straight 6%, why is it higher when, anyway, so that doesn't make any sense. Similar to Commissioner Hartley Brown, I was flabbergasted that the comps for 4 bedrooms are for apartments that are 2,000 square feet plus, and you're showing an 850 square foot apartment getting the same rent. Your 1 bedrooms are 371 square feet. I didn't see anything in your comps that look remotely close to that small. So in general, the whole thing just felt incredibly sloppy and not based on none of it made any sense to me. I don't think the A finding's been met, but I think there's a number of other issues here. Nothing further.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
We're going to recall the A case.
Are we going to recall the A case now?
Yes.
Mhm.
Okay, so we're going to recall 2020, not recall, second call. Decision item 2023-41A through 2023-46A, Long Street Avenue, the Bronx.
Okay, just bear with me. I have my notes. So we received a submission yesterday from the applicant trying to provide more clarification to DOT comments. Now, oh, we have to
Have to
reopen.
discuss-
Oh,
yeah.
sorry. Motion to reopen.
Chair Shonda,
Aye.
Vice Chair Shabeta,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta,
Aye.
Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So the reason I think we need to reopen is for the following two reasons. Is that it's regarding the location of the curb cut for lot 57 and the construction of Long Street along the length of lot 157 that needs clarification. So regarding I was pouring through it last evening just to understand how Long Street is going to be reconstructed when a portion of it is under property owner, the subject property owner's jurisdiction, and the rest is privately owned as the letter provided by the applicant states. So regarding the construction of Long Street along the length of 157, according to the 1021 letter, the applicant states that the only portion of Long Street Avenue and Hatting Place title vested to the city are the intersections of the two streets. And that is shaded in olive green in the map that was submitted also. The remaining section of Long Street Avenue adjacent to the subject lots are mapped but are not title vested and are privately owned. According to 626 submission plan, and then this is just a snippet of that plan, it shows a 30-foot wide street bed plus a 15-foot wide sidewalk proposed along lot 57. I just zoomed in just to show where everything falls. According to the site survey from 6/26/2024 submission, of the total 80-foot mapped width of Long Street, 40 foot of it is within 40 foot of it is within lot 157. Now, per site plan from 6/26/2024, applicant is proposing to use 24 feet of its property towards the construction of the 30-foot wide roadbed and the 15-foot wide sidewalk along lot 157. If the portion of this lot if the portion of the street width is going to be 30 foot wide, which is not owned by the remaining portion is not owned by the applicant, and according to the latest letter, these are privately owned, what permission the applicant has to build on this privately held portion of the Long Street along lot 57. Also, as I was looking at the statement of facts from the submission of 626, the statement of facts, I think, can be misleading. In its statement of fact, it says that the proposed development would widen the existing open portion of Long Street Avenue between Hatting Place and Glennon to a width of 30 feet avenue and include paving and the installation of sidewalks where none currently exist. Now, it should clearly state that 30-foot wide roadbed and an additional 15-foot wide sidewalk will be built and specify the portion of the subject site that will be used towards developing the roadway and the sidewalk. And I think this is a very complicated site with the need to provide the details that DEP needs to review, DOT needs to review, we need to review. So I think in such situation, there is no harm in providing two sets of plans, two sets of map, one that clearly shows and delineates the site ownership and the width of the map street bed and the proposed width of the street and the sidewalk. And and pardon me if I was doing this pretty late at night, so if there are any mistakes, I apologize. But as I understand it, as you can see, the street bed is mapped 80 foot. Of that, 40 foot of it is within the applicant's property and 40 foot of it's outside, which is privately held according to the letter as I'm reading it. And of that 40 foot that is within the property, subject property, 24 foot of it is going to be used towards the construction of the 30 foot, and 15 foot would be the sidewalk. And I guess the remaining would be that blue portion of the street. and remainder of the street would be outside. So we definitely need to understand how the property owner will have the authority to build that portion of the street. And that is one of the reasons why I'm reopening it. And this is, there's a next slide which actually shows where that 80-foot street bed and the breakdown of the 80-foot between 40-40 bit of ownership. Now, the other question I have is the 50-foot distance that the applicant is challenging is not required by DOT. And that would affect lot 57. And applicant is stating is that the 50-foot distance from an intersection is not required for lot 57 because it would not be within 50 foot of a quote unquote active intersection, as Longstreet Avenue between Hatting Place and Chaffee Avenue is not open or improved. The proposed curb cut for lot 57 is on Hatting Place and not on Chaffee Street. So the applicant's letter from 1021, which supports the argument that the intersection of Longstreet Avenue and Hatting Place was vested to the city, this will be then an active intersection and of these two streets. So I recall that DOT in its review of GCL 35s have often questioned the location of a curb cut within 50 feet of an intersection and that it needs to be relocated. I think there was a GCL 35, we had reviewed it as late as early part of this year where that question was brought up. And so I think these are valid questions and these need to be delved into because this would affect the site plan, and any change in the site plan as a result of any discussion with DOT, DOB would result in the applicant having to come back and revise the plan. And I would strongly say, based on everything that I'm reviewing thus far, I don't think we can allow for any construction on this site to start until and unless DOT and DEP have reviewed all the necessary builder's pavement plan, because the slope conditions, all of those are important. And until those are all achieved, I don't think any work permit of any sort should be permitted on this site. Those need to be resolved before a builder's pavement plan, before a work permit is filed. So builder's pavement plan has to be approved before that. So those are my reason, and I, just wanted to lay it out. I don't think you all had a chance to look through it, but, we will schedule this for another hearing. And this will also give DOT time to review this application, and we can hear response from the applicant.
Okay,
Okay?
anything else?
No.
Okay, so this This concludes the review session for Tuesday, October 22nd, 2024. We'll resume at
15. So 36, do 15 minutes.
Yeah, 15 minutes.
we'll resume in 15 minutes with the public hearing.
Thank you.
Good morning. This is the New York City Board of Standards and Appeals public hearing for October 22nd, 2024. The first item up is zoning calendar, continued hearing items 2022-65BZ, 2503, 2519, Coney Island Avenue, Brooklyn.
I just,
Leora Altman.
yeah.
Is there anyone else with you? Good morning, Ms. Altman. Is there anyone else participating with you?
There is not. Hiram Rothkrug was going to join me, but he's actually submitted all of his documents as of just a few moments ago.
Okay.
Okay.
Raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and respond honestly to board member questions?
Of course.
Please state your name for the record and proceed to respond to the board's comments at review session.
Good morning still. Lyra Altman, Lobson Lyra Altman. We did attend your executive session, heard your comments. Hiram Rothkrug has already submitted a response to last week's noise comments from DEP and the outstanding DOT comments. He has also submitted a complete revised EAS, and I know that Tracy has already acknowledged receipt.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't come through yet, actually. We received some of the submission. We're waiting for the revised EAS and
I have
response.
the email that you're CC'd on showing it. Came through actually at 11:52. Just so you know.
Oh,
Maybe, yeah,
I also don't have it here.
Let's see.
maybe it bounced back.
Ella, I see he did not include you on the email at 11:52. He sent it to me, to Tracy, and to submit. I can forward that to you with pleasure right now.
Okay. Yeah,
Uh,
sometimes the attachment's too big. It does.
I think it's too big because I just checked submit and it's not in the submit box too.
Okay. I will reach out to Hiram Rothkrug and have him resend it as a link to a Dropbox or some other format that will come through more easily then. Thank you for letting me know.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Altman, for keeping up with all the comments back and forth. We do know that, that this is the last piece of the puzzle with regards to the findings, so we just have to wait for that. I think the best
We'll
way.
just continue.
Yeah, we'll continue, but maybe in the interest of time, we will try to schedule it close to when we know everything is getting resolved.
Okay, we can do that.
So let's, I think I would strongly, I know you stay in touch with the project manager and Tracy, so continue to do that so that we can put that together.
Of course.
Thank you. Any questions or comments?
Public.
Let's go to the public then.
Okay, the case that we're currently discussing is 2022-65BZ, 2503, 2519 Coney Island Avenue, Brooklyn. Should you wish to comment, dial 669-254-5252. At the prompt, you will enter the webinar ID number 160-067-1814 and press the pound sign. At the prompt after that, you will press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, you will press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute as you're calling in on the phone. And if you're in the Zoom room already and wish to participate, please use the raise hand signal at the bottom of your computer screen. Once you are recognized, you will have 3 minutes in which to discuss.
Jella, I'd like to say thank you for sending that email before I could even reach out to Hiram.
I actually did just get the 11:52 email.
Oh, you did? Well, he just said he was going to be sending a link as well.
Understand?
Okay. So as I said, Ms. Altman, let's just coordinate with DOT and DEP and as we get close to the closure, we can schedule it.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
There's some last minute revision to the drawings with regards to adding notes and statements. So I'm sure you'll be ready to make those corrections and provide a cover letter that clearly identifies where those corrections and revisions and updates have been made.
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Yeah,
Yeah, it's done.
Okay.
Sorry.
thank you.
So
Ms.
no one
Hall.
has raised their hands.
Yeah,
Hold on.
nobody raised their hand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that. Okay. Thank you. Item number 22, 2023 12BZ 23015 Merrick Boulevard, Queens.
Okay, do you know who this would be? Would it be Damien?
Isn't it
Or
John?
Gerard Jones and,
Isn't it John Mamora, somebody?
please raise your hand for this case.
This is 2023 12BZ 23015 Merrick Boulevard, Queens.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah, it's John Mamora. That's what I said.
and yeah,
Jared Roots.
I just, yeah.
Too many people to remember. And Ethan,
And
hi, Mr. Jones, is Ethan Skokowski, pardon pronunciation, part of your team?
Yes, he is. Thank you.
okay,
Start video. There we go.
yeah, we just,
We all here? Good morning. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board.
we have
John-
we have to swear you
We
all
have to
in.
swear you in, and I'm waiting for one of your associates to,
I think
Okay.
he's in the room.
he's in the room.
Yeah.
Okay. Please unmute. Mr. Skokowski, how do you pronounce your last name? Sorry, rude.
Who, and my apologies, so when you get a chance, please do,
We can ask.
yeah, we can.
Okay, please raise your right hands. Thank you. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board, and to respond honestly to board member questions?
I do.
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Please state your name for the record and proceed to respond to the board's comments at review session.
Thank you. John Marmora, K&L Gates for the applicant Raising Canes. And our project engineer is Jared Jones from Bowler Engineering.
And please identify the other gentleman.
The other gentleman,
Too.
go ahead. Okay.
Yeah. Ethan, why don't you, I would miss last name.
Ethan Chakosky, I'm a traffic engineer for the project.
Okay, thank you. Chakosky.
Okay. May I proceed?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Chair, members of the board. We did listen to the workshop session this morning. I'll briefly run through our comments and then turn it over to Mr. Jones. There is a canopy over the menu board. Mr. Jones will explain that, and we can call that out on the plan. There was a question about tying in sheet 002 with 007 and 008, the landscaping and the fence. Mr. Jones will speak to that as well. There was a request to put the respect your neighbor signs, another one in the parking lot. We have no problem with that. We will agree to do that. The lumen analysis, Mr. Jones will go through, so I won't take your time on that. A question about the detail for the restrooms on the notes, and I'll also jump ahead to Commissioner Yoon's question on that. The seating is exterior. We consider it exterior. The DOB, I believe, considers it part of the building, but it is a patio with retractable walls. So in inclement weather, we bring down the walls and we can put a heater in there. We had the meeting with Councilman Brooks Powers, and she did not like the fact that the doors opened to the exterior. So the hallway, there's now a small hallway to get into the door for the restrooms. And but there is still what we consider no interior seating. That has not changed. And again, Mr. Jones can speak more to the changes he made to the plan to accommodate the council members' request. The ADA parking spaces, again, Mr. Jones will speak to that. And the other question, Commissioner Shetta's comment regarding noise and the distance to the building and the menu board, and Mr. Jones will speak to that. So with that, I would, unless there are questions for me, I would turn it over to Mr. Jones to take a run through those issues.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I guess I'll start with the ADA stalls. Where we have them proposed is actually the shortest walking distance to the building, which is why we thought they were in a good spot, despite the fact that you have to cross over a drive aisle. The drive aisle is only 22 feet wide. And again, it's not an uncommon thing to have, walking across the drive aisle to get from an accessible route. It's also in a flatter area in the site. So it allows for ADA grades to be accomplished a little easier. So that's just why we ended up with them in that location. Regarding the light level, Commissioner Shedder hit it right on the head, right? We have a canopy, which is about 10'6" to the bottom of the canopy. We have our 10-foot landscape buffer, which also has a 10-foot high fence, and our arborvitaes. Those items act basically as a wall or a buffer to prevent the spillover from spilling over into the adjacent property, which is why you see those 0 light levels. Again, the bottom of the canopy is 10'6". The fence itself is 10 foot high. So we modeled it that way so that it shows those blockages that would be there.
Yeah, is that a height shown in the plan? Can somebody share the plan?
Which height are you referring to, Madam Chair?
Height.
The height of the canopy or the height of the fence?
Well, I want to see the height of the canopy and the fence together and dimension so that I was looking at the sheet. I think it was the last sheet which has the 18, right? And in that section, I'm just looking at the section.
So we call out the 10-foot high fence. I don't believe we call out the 10'6" to the canopy. I can add that to this section if you like.
Which one?
The height of the canopy.
Okay.
Yeah, so the bottom of the canopy where the lights actually are is 10'6". I can add that to this detail or section.
Okay. Yeah.
And while we have this up, I know Commissioner Shedder had some comments on this section. Yes, I have to go back through this. The numbers are.
Can I interrupt you?
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, before we proceed, regarding the lighting and the obstruction of the lighting in the model with the shrubs and with the landscaping and with the fence, the canopy is taller than the fence. So most likely the light can shed over.
W029 at counter 4.
Hold on. Who,
I think it was Vinwar. I think it's good.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Commissioner Shetta, can you start because there was a little bit
Yes,
of
I will. Yeah. Regarding the light shedding over the fence and the consideration of the shrubs and I understand you can consider the fence as a barrier, blind barrier for light transfer. That's acceptable. But for the shrubs, no. The canopy you cannot because it goes back and forth. That canopy is taller than the fence, so most likely you're gonna have some light shedding over the fence. So if you want to do that, you have to have a good reason for considering the fence as a barrier, which I'm not sure if you can do or not, but probably make the fence taller than the canopy, and then we can and I would, if I were you, I would put some shielding to make sure that the canopy lighting goes down, not to the side, because even if you make the fence as tall as the canopy and the light sheds horizontally, near horizontal, you're gonna have some shedding traveling to the adjacent property.
So I'll add the call out for the lights are shielded. And yes, the canopy is taller, but it's only 6 inches taller than the fence.
If you add the shedding, I'll take it to make that
I'll make sure I add the shielding.
Yep, to shorten the back and forth. If you put the shedding, you add a detail for the shedding. If it's like 45-degree shedding to the lights to make sure that they travel for probably 6 inches down, then it's a done deal for me.
Okay.
Thank you.
No problem.
We'd have no problem complying with that.
Actually, interestingly, if you make the shed instead of a straight wall, if you have the shed that kind of has an exterior that kind of comes down a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That way it does two things. It not only, it's a design feature. You have a little bit of a slant at the rear lot line, which lets not only acts as a continuous shield of the light.
Yes, like a curtain.
May also block the noise. You see what I'm saying? If
I'm not following.
Okay,
I'm
I'm
sorry.
looking at section AA of that page 18. So at the edge of the canopy, if there is a little bit of extension that is made, it's like what we call it, like a slope.
Sure, would you allow me?
Yeah.
If they put something like a curtain here, like 6 inches
Right,
all
all
around, it would help block the light from traveling like horizontal. And instead of like shielding every single light, it's like a perimeter shielding for the entire canopy. That would do it for
Yeah.
the lighting. For the noise, it's not gonna do anything because it's up high.
Well, I think if you make it one, I was thinking of a 12-inch kind of then that may also improve act as a barrier for the sound.
You mean put it like deeper like that?
Yeah, along the
Yeah,
rear.
but the sound source is here.
Yeah,
It's not gonna help with the sound.
along the rear, parallel to the rear lot line.
I mean, we're already kind of taking care of the sound. The sound is accomplished by the 10-foot high fence and the acoustic block on it.
And if they put the AVC on all the time, they commit to that. I don't think they have a problem with the sound.
Yeah.
My issue with the construction of the figure itself, I'm not sure if it's based on the ambient plus 15 or whatever the speaker can emit.
Yeah, no, this section needs updated. It was based on what the speaker can emit. To your
Okay.
point,
So
yes,
you
the
need to
AVC
replace
will
it
always
then.
be on. We'll note that, and these numbers and figures will get updated accordingly. So,
So
Um,
a shield across the canopy on 3 sides.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
For the light?
for the light.
Well,
Yeah,
just
for the light, if they shield this long side, that short side, and then the other side from the other side of the canopy, yes, I believe it would do it.
so
And if they want to
there's-
put single shielding, it's
Oh,
up to them. It's their choice.
Yeah, I would prefer to shield the lights. Because this canopy is only 10'6", if you start cutting into that, then you can worry about cars and stuff hitting it potentially, or trucks, taller trucks. So
Okay.
I would prefer to shield the lights individually if that's acceptable.
You already
to
have a
the commissioners.
projection here. You see that projection?
Uh-huh.
So if you put a piece of shielding here,
You're talking about the one side.
yeah.
and if you put shielding here,
No, Commissioner Shetta, I think Commissioner Yoon has a point. Putting the shielding, continuous shielding along parallel to the rear lot line will not block any vehicular movement through the canopy because
Yeah.
there's a minimum clearance height that would be needed. So you cannot put it perpendicular, you cannot put the shield perpendicular to the rear lot line, but if you put it parallel to the rear lot line, that
yes, I get it. Yes, you're right.
vehicles constructed. Am I stating that correctly, Mr. Jones?
No, you're correct.
Yes,
Okay.
I agree. Yes. I
While
got it.
while we're on this section, I have a feeling that this is a copied image from the manufacturer of the AVC that just has dimensions added to it because none of it is actually proportional to the dimensions, which is diagrammatic, I understand, but all the rings, as Commissioner Shetta noted in the review session, need to be scaled up to the correct dimension. So
Yeah.
the canopy isn't the actual canopy, it's just a diagrammatic canopy that's from the AVC manufacturer section. We accept it on every project, but it starts to get wonky when it just doesn't look like proportionally what is being shown. Is it hard to make this? It's not hard. Can we update the section to be accurate to the actual project?
Yes, no, we'll take care of it.
Overlay the rings on top of that in the correct dimension.
Mhm. Yeah, you're talking about basically draw it to scale.
I know
Probably
we,
15-minute CAD job.
I think that would help in the future.
No problem.
We'll start with this one. Thank you, Commissioner Yoon and Shetta on that one.
So on the noise part, you're planning to like modify the entire diagram to like put here instead of the 73, you put the ambient plus 15. Do you have measurements for the ambient by any chance?
I do not have measurements for that, just the standard standard
Standard
accepting
ambient?
ambient numbers, which is generally in that 45 to 60 range.
Okay.
So I will
You're
update this.
gonna be okay. The distance is 20 plus, so you're gonna be okay either way.
Yeah. Nope, I will update this based on the, making it to scale and update the, I guess, to make it more.
And please put
accurate.
that note regarding the ABCs on all the time.
Yep,
Put it on the plans and make it bold, make it boxed, just to make sure that they are aware of that.
will do.
Thank you so much.
And the question I had, is the light going to be on in the canopy even past business hours?
So no, the lights naturally turned off, but based on the comments, we're looking at potentially reducing them just from a safety standpoint at night. But they're supposed to turn off when the store closes.
Okay, that's fine. If that's what, I just didn't want it to be on at its brightest point all throughout. If you're going to turn it off, that's fine, that's your decision. But if you want to keep it to a minimum just for safety, that's okay too. But I want to make sure that it's not going to be glowing all throughout the day and night.
100%.
I forgot to mention that. We can confirm that if they're on it after hours for security reasons, they will be at a much dimmer basis.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Mr. Jones, I'm sorry, do you mind submitting also the ABC cut sheet? I know it gets submitted with each project, but it's helpful to not dig around for it in the other folders.
No problem. I believe we've addressed most of the comments. Any other questions?
There's actually one I forgot to mention. I believe this was the chair's comment. As far as blocking access to 230th Street and Francis Lewis Boulevard, Mr. Jones has looked at that. There is room to put bollards on either side. So we would propose to do that and put a chain across each ingress way when we close.
Great. Thank you. So you can add that to the plan. Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks to Jen.
Thank you. Any other questions that was left out? I think those were our primary one. Commissioner Otley-Brown, were you okay with the response to the ADA?
Yeah, he gave me a reason.
Okay, all right. So ADA, ABC, all of that, those have been responded. I have to say, your team has been really wonderful in the way you've been responding to the community concerns and council members' concerns and also board's concerns. Appreciate it. If not, any questions for the team? I would like to go to the public. Okay, let's go to the public.
The case that we're currently discussing is 2023-12BZ to 23015 Merrick Boulevard, Queens. Should you wish to comment, dial 669-254-5252. At the prompt, you'll enter the webinar ID number 160-067-1814 and the pound sign. At the next prompt, you will press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, you will press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute as you are calling in on the phone. And if in the Zoom room already and wish to participate, please raise your Zoom hand, which is the little hand at the bottom of your computer screen. Once you are recognized, you will have 3 minutes in which to discuss.
So while we are waiting for the public to call in, we do need to complete the findings, we do need the DOT review on this one. And other than that, in the meantime, please do revise the plans and provide a cover letter, just stating the same responses that you provided regarding the ADA, the patio, the AVC, and add a note to the plan regarding the AVC will be on all the time. The canopy shielding along the rear lot line of 6 inch, show that in the section also, and the height of the canopy, and in the cover letter indicate that the light at the canopy will be dimmed sorry, Mr. Marmora mentioned, and the bollards with the chain. I think those were the main significant changes to the plans. And I would say that it would be best to schedule this as we get closer to a DOT resolution. If DOT has no additional comments, or if they want to make some recommendations, those changes need to be reflected in the plan. Add those to the plan and then make a submission, and we can then schedule it accordingly.
Okay, no one has raised their hands.
I have a question for Ms. Benke. Ms. Benke, have you heard anything from DOT on this one?
Yeah, as of yesterday, they said they were still reviewing this application. So hopefully soon we'll get comments. I don't know the nature of the comments.
Okay, so please coordinate with the project manager and Ms. Benke, and so that we can align the DOT comments and our next round of hearing date.
Yes, we'll do so.
And thank you all again.
Thank you. We appreciate your time.
Thank you. You too.
The item is 2023-58BZ, 19718 Hillside Avenue, Queens. Mr. Dale.
Okay. I don't see him in the room.
He's there.
Is he there?
Yep, he's there.
Okay, all right.
Good afternoon, Mr. Dale. Is anyone participating with you?
Just myself today.
Okay, raise your right hand. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board, and to respond honestly to board member questions?
I do so affirm.
Please state your name for the record and proceed to respond to the board's comments at review session.
Hi, good afternoon. Todd Dale for the applicant. I did listen to the comments review session. Just going to make a few brief comments. Chair, I really do appreciate your comments about reaching out to the community board. What I would like to just state for the record, though, is that for this application, our office met 3 different times at committee and full board meetings with the community board. We also completed a targeted mailing at the request of the community board. And after there was no quorum at the last meeting we attended, we did reach out multiple times to see if we could get confirmation on the vote. I really do appreciate the project manager and the board's assistance in reaching out. I would just note that there are certain community boards sometimes that will only send recommendations directly to the board because of policy. I don't know if that's the case with this community board, but I just want to assert that we appreciate the board's assistance in getting the recommendation, but we met multiple times with this board and did reach out ourselves multiple times to see if we could get their recommendation.
Okay, in that case, what I would suggest, when you're having difficulty getting a feedback from the community board, then bring it to our attention so that we can promptly act upon it and not have to miss a beat on that. If that nudge helps, we will be more than happy to provide that nudge.
So noted, and I would say that the nudge in this instance did help. So I appreciate Ms. Eubanks-Chu effort in getting that for this case. We are still waiting on the Department of Transportation comments, and we'll respond accordingly when they're received. The only question I would just ask at this point, and perhaps it's something that can be answered offline, is that during the pendency of this application, we were intending to proceed under the prior special permit findings because the hope was that we would have a response, perhaps get closure. Obviously, it's taking longer for DOT to review, which we understand. At this point, do we still have the option, or would the board be agreeable if we did revise materials accordingly for the new findings in order to obtain the longer term? For this application, I believe we would have met those core findings. We would need to address any new findings in the special permit. I believe we would need to update the statement of facts. But if it's better to discuss this offline, we definitely can. I just wanted to know if that option was still available for this application due to the particular timing and the fact we're still waiting for DOT review.
I think there should be. I'm just discussing this with general, be able to.
Request, board can.
We cannot hear you, Chief. Can you repeat that?
Should be available, yes.
We're cutting in and out. I'm not sure.
Did you, Ms. Benke, were you not able to hear us?
I can hear you, Chair. I cannot hear Chase, General Counsel.
That option should be available.
Great. Thank you very much. And we'll reach out to the project managers to confirm that we're following all the board's current policies with such a change.
Right. So there might be a little bit, I mean, you may have to notify the community board of the change and though the change is minor, but all of those may have to be done.
Understood. We'll reach out. Thank you. I believe that was the extent of the comments. It's really waiting for Department of Transportation and then this pending change that was just discussed.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
We hope to get comments this week. I was hoping to get them yesterday, but I haven't heard back. So.
Okay. Thank you. Let's go to the public then.
The case we are currently discussing right now is 2023-58 BZ, 19718 Hillside Avenue, Queens. Should you wish to participate in discussion, dial 669-254-5252. Enter the webinar ID number at the prompt. You enter the webinar ID number 160-067-1814 and press the pound sign. At the prompt after that, you'll press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, you'll press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute as you're calling in on the phone. And if you're in the Zoom room already and wish to participate, please raise your Zoom hand, which is the little hands at the bottom of your computer screen. Once you are recognized, you will have 3 minutes in which to discuss.
I think, given that you're proposing to change it, please do reach out to the project manager, Council Vine, our executive director, regarding the process. I think Ms. Prenga definitely is very familiar with it. She already is working on a couple of them. And then let's line it up with DOT review comments so that we can, we don't do too many iterations of hearings.
Understood.
As you know, as you would have gathered from the previous case, is really the new finding D, which relates to the air quality and the light spillage and such. So that's part of the findings. And I think we have now 2 cases that are in process under 73-331. This is one of them, and there's another one which I think is a Platnik case. So
On Nostrum, yeah.
on Nostrum, right? Okay.
We actually have the materials for that case and are familiar with it, so we can use that as a base guide in conjunction with talking to the board about that.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
No hands, no one pulled in.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Dale.
Thank you.
We'll shortly.
Item number 24, 2024-19 BZ, 5802 Northern Boulevard, Queens. This is Miss Sandy Agnostu, and I don't know who else is here.
I see Sandy, Lisa, Arantia,
Sandy and Lisa and Jessica Corris.
Jessica. I don't see, oh, there she is. Yeah. Okay, is it, I think all of them should be in the room now.
Miss Jessica. Is Jessica? Okay.
Good afternoon.
Is that everyone?
There's also someone, Damian Corbett, in the waiting room.
Yeah, I see. Yep. Mr. Corbett.
Okay, are we ready? Okay, please raise your right hands and unmute. Oh, it's Damian Mr. Corbett? Could you please present
Hello?
Mr. Corbett? No, wait. I'm waiting for Mr. Corbett to.
Yes,
Do you have your camera on, please, sir?
it should be on.
It's not, but okay.
Okay, I need to see if it.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Okay, now, that's it? That's your team?
I think we lost Sandy.
No, Sandy's there. Sandy? Weigewelt. Okay, I don't think she. Okay, can you hear us, Cindy?
Hello?
Yeah, can hear you.
Hello?
Can you hear us?
Hello?
Who's lead on this, Miss Arantia?
Sandy.
Yes, and we have Joe Vitaggio on as well.
Who? Joe
Joe
Volcaj.
Vitaggio. Joe V, maybe the name, or just Joe.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Joseph
VULCAGGIO. Gotcha.
Hello?
Sandy, are you
Can
hearing
you-
anything from us?
You busy to everybody.
Her and let her know that we can't,
We can hear her.
she can't hear us.
Maybe her volume's down.
Can somebody text her and let her know?
Yeah, I think she's texting her now. I'll text her too. Let me see if I get her. Sandy.
Hello?
We can hear you, Sandy.
Oh, okay. I can hear you now. I couldn't hear you.
great.
I'm
Okay.
sorry. Sorry about that. Okay. Good afternoon. Sandy Anagnostou representing the applicant. And
Swear-
I'm,
Sandy.
Sandy, we have to go all in.
Swear everyone in. Thank
Okay.
you. Okay, everyone help raise their right hands. Mr. Volcaggio, could you unmute, please? Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
Yes.
Yes.
Please state your name for the record and proceed to respond to the board's comments at review session.
yes, Sandy Anagnostou. I listened to the board's questions during the review session. If I may be allowed to share my screen, I'd like to address those questions.
Okay.
Okay. Are you able to see that?
But, yes, go ahead.
Okay, so I just want to say regarding the community board recommendation, they voted unanimously to disapprove this application. However, we do have a letter of support from the Queensborough president, Donovan Richards. We also have a petition from residents of the area and a number of letters of support, consent forms, which were sent to the board. So just keeping that in mind, not everyone is opposed to this, and we feel that the proposed use is very appropriate for this particular site. So the first question Madam Chair had was to clarify the showroom area.
Let me just ask one question. All I have in my record are 6 letters of opposition and 6 letters of support and a supporting letter from the Queensborough President's Office. I do not have anything on record that shows a petition.
We have it.
It was submitted, we can resubmit, but it was submitted a while ago, I think before the first hearing.
I saw it back when I was first.
July 23rd. It was submitted on July 23rd.
Okay, all right.
But there's a lot in that file for testimony.
Okay.
Okay, so the total first floor area is 4,287.15 square feet, as noted on the plans. The drive-through area is 1,390.02 square feet, but that is not part of the showroom. That's only for bringing cars in and out of the space, and maybe on occasion if a customer really needs to park there, but that's mainly for getting cars in and out. The showroom area is here, and that square footage is 3,048.8 square feet, and that's the interior area, which doesn't include the exterior wall. So if needed, we can
Yeah.
put those numbers on the plan. We can revise the plan to include that.
Yeah, so basically of the total 4,287 square feet, about 1,000 of it is the drive-through and the remaining is the actual showroom space.
Yeah, about 3,048 square feet.
Okay.
So you can see it's not a huge showroom because of the type of operation. It's mostly like retail. There's not a huge number of cars being showcased here. It's a boutique style operation. There may be 3 cars, maybe 4 cars, not a huge amount of cars. And as we mentioned in the prior hearing, no test driving, no maintenance of cars, no picking up or dropping off cars. So it is a true showroom.
So in the plan, indicate the distinguish the area of the showroom versus the driveway, and provide the dimension, the square footage for each one of them. That way it makes it absolutely clear the area specifically designated for the showroom.
Okay, thank you. We'll do that. Then moving on to the question regarding the FAR for the as of right and illustrative plans. The illustrative, which is the zoning calculations for the typical illustrative plan for a typical rectangular site, is 1.61. The maximum FAR for predominantly built up is 1.65. So here's 8,519.58 divided by the lot area of 5259.04 gives us 1.61. We're very close to 1.65. For the as of right, which is these are the calculations for that, we have total floor area 7637.01 square feet. Divided by the lot area of 5259.04 gives us FAR of 1.45. Predominantly built up is 1.65. So we took a look at this and said, you know, this is the site plan, but what could we, like, for that 0.20, what could we do? But mainly the reason we didn't do that is it's just sort of, I don't want to say ridiculous, but just looking at it, when you're
I think
anything above 30 feet, we have to set back 15 feet. So we did a little sketch here.
Right.
And what we would end up with would be this triangle, which would be a 4th floor, because we have to set back on every frontage 15 feet.
Right.
Then we quickly laid out what would we have to do that. It would actually affect the 3rd floor because we'd have to provide a stair to go up there. That would make the 3rd floor unit smaller. And we would end up with this little studio, which is like a true triangle, very odd shaped. So we didn't think that's at all functional or made any sense to build this little triangle up there.
This is very convincing. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so these are just the other plans. And then the last comment from the review was the deed for the adjacent lot on block 1182 lot 38 prior to 1983. We did request that. We were able to get the deed for the subject lot. Looking at other records, the C of O dates back to, there's an NB of 1906, and then another NB of 1936, and a C of O of 1965. We do not have the deed for that lot, but we can request it again from the finance department in order to submit it for the record for the D finding. But we're pretty confident that they were always separate owners between lot 38 and the subject lot. They were never in common ownership. But we can get that deed. We can request it tomorrow. Go to finance and get it and submit it.
Thank you. Yes. What were the other questions we had? I think that we were satisfied with the financials. I think those were the primary questions. Any other? I did find the submission of the sample sites from Maryland and from Arizona very helpful. And the documents, it does establish it that this is a very boutique-y place with requiring minimal footprint only for display and not for any pickup, drop-off, repair, or even testing. It is really to come and see those beautifully designed cars.
Yeah. We very much try to incorporate landscaping as much as possible on this site. It wasn't an easy site to do that, but we managed to put the planters in and the electric charging stations that actually the community board requested that, as well as the board with the landscaping, reducing the size of the curb cuts. Yeah, we tried to do.
I have a question. The electric charging station, how will you ensure that that parking space only is used? Will that parking space will be used only for those vehicles needing electric vehicle charging, or it can be used by anybody?
I think they can be used by anyone, but we would have to file an application with DOT for both of those.
Okay. Okay.
Which we intend to do.
Yeah, you can just clarify that.
Yeah, I think they signage that says just for, it's reserved.
Just for reserved for that spot. Okay.
It will be only for EV charging. So if you can just get that out in your statement and clarify.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, let's then go to the public.
The case we're currently.
Can you stop sharing the screen, whoever is sharing
Sure.
this?
Sorry, thank.
Yeah.
Okay, the case we're currently discussing is 2024-19 BZ 5802 Northern Boulevard, Queens. Should you wish to discuss, dial 669-254-5252. At the prompt, you will enter the webinar ID number 160-067-1814 and press the pound sign. At the next prompt, you will press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, you will press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute, as you are calling in on the phone. And if in the Zoom room already and wish to participate, please raise your Zoom hand, which is the little hand at the bottom of your computer screen. Once you are recognized in any forum, you will have 3 minutes to discuss.
How long will it take for you to make, update the plan, provide the deed, and revise the as of right plan also with revision to the statement of fact?
With the plan we did, the sketch, a day or two by the end of this week. I mean, we pretty much have everything. We just have to get the actual deed, and the others would take a day. So we can submit by the end of this week, by Thursday.
Our November calendar is very full, so I think the earliest we can get you to would be December.
Oh. Would we be able to close today and submit the revised plans and letter and deed?
I would love to, but the statement, definding is still outstanding and we need to meet that definding. So if needed, will you be okay, Commissioner Otley Brown, if we added this to the second half of the November?
Oh, yeah, I'd be okay with that, just not the 6th.
Right,
Yeah.
okay. So maybe we'll schedule this for second November hearing, because we only are looking at the definding and all the other changes and nothing to do with financing. And please, in your cover letter, be very explicitly lay out all the changes that's been made, where the changes have been made, so that we don't have that many days to review between the 2 November hearing dates.
Yeah.
So
Submission date is October 30th if you.
yeah, it's October 30th, but we can give you till November 9th to make a complete thorough submission if you need, especially for the deed. I don't know when you're going to get all the deed
Okay.
documents.
Yeah, I think we'll be able to do it by the 30th, but we appreciate that.
All right, so this is the last item that will be added to our November 18, 19.
Okay.
Yeah, so unfortunately we can't close, but I think we are very close to closing it, but we need that finding D.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you all for joining.
Item number 25, 2024, 21 BZ 20425 Rockaway Point Boulevard, Queens.
This would be
Alexia.
Yeah, anyone else from her team, please raise your hand. Amanda.
Amanda Ionati. Wow.
Wow, that's a lot.
So
Sean.
Sean Ayung. Father.
Yes.
Gelfand, sorry.
Oh,
Don Lamato. Karen Pedrazi. Don Lamato.
Yep, that's everyone.
Mr. Lamato. Oh, okay.
Okay,
Great.
I'll just
wait till everybody's on camera and ready. Ms. Pedrazi?
I have my camera on, but it's showing as black.
Yeah, I don't see you.
It's very strange.
Are you providing testimony?
No, Sean will be speaking from Gensler, so maybe it's fine.
So I'm just gonna swear everyone in.
There may be a cover on your camera. There's one on my laptop and I have to toggle it to, it's a privacy thing.
Yeah.
It's really small. This is maybe.
It's at the top of the.
Yes, I'm going back and forth with it. I'm
Okay.
We don't see you.
Yeah,
All right.
sorry. It was just working, so I'm good.
Okay, so I have to swear everyone in, part of the team. Do raise your right hands. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
I do.
I do.
Okay, please state your name for the record and proceed to respond to the board's comments at review session.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and Commissioners. My name is Alexia Landisman. I'm joined by Amanda Ionati from Sheldon Lobel PC, as well as Father Michael Gelfand from Blessed Trinity, as well as Don Lamato, who's the project manager on this application. And finally, with Karen Pedrazi and Sean Ayung from Gensler, who are the architects on this project. We have We have attended the executive session and have heard the board's comments. The first comment that the board had made was with regards to the runoff around the court as well as the bleacher seating. We mentioned in the programmatic needs report that the regulation court requires 10 foot of runoff, which includes the bleachers on one side as well as a place for the players to come on and off the court. The reason we mentioned that, as Commissioner Yoon had stated, was to show that we actually we're asking for less just because of the space requirements that we're working with. And I believe that if Sean will elaborate on this, but I believe we're requesting 6 feet approximately of runoff around the court, which would include the space for the bleachers. Secondly, the board had made a comment with regards to the height of the court, and I think that we wanted to address that here briefly. And I wanted to allow Father Michael Gelfand as well as Dom Lamato to elaborate on why we need the 30 feet of height. And so I'm just going to hand it over.
Thank you very much.
Share my screen while we go through the answers.
Chair. So with regards to the height.
If I was going out, I don't know when.
The other party not mute themselves when your turn comes to speak.
Thank you. Yeah, that's very helpful. So with regard to the height for volleyball, depending on who you're looking at with regard to the regulation, it seems that in our research that we're showing 23 to 26 feet for regulation play. That's unobstructed regulation play, meaning once the ball hits something that's less than that height, it's out of play. And so the reason why we're requesting 30 feet is because being in other gyms and paying to repair other gyms, we know that kids do not understand how to keep a ball 26 feet into the gym play area. And so we're worried about, as we have our experience tells us, that they're going to hit the lights, they're going to hit the ductwork. Plus, if we're playing volleyball, we need to roll up, as this picture is showing us, the basketball hoops up into the ceiling. So we have to get above the 26-foot height so that it's unobstructed for volleyball. So that's the reason why we're asking for the 30 feet of clearance so that the hoops can clear it, along with the lights, along with the ductwork.
Okay. All right, that's good. If you can just put that in your statement because that goes towards your finding, towards the waiver request.
Yes, we can elaborate that in the statement as well as the programmatic needs report. And we'll also clarify the portion of the runoff as well, just to make sure it's clear what we're requesting versus what's regulation.
Yeah, just show it the dimension. Yeah, so the 6 foot doesn't include the bleacher. It is past the.
Right. So the bleachers are retractable, but regardless, even if there's one game that's being held in the facility, there needs to be space for the audience, for the parents to watch the kids, for other attendees. So that's going to stay there for the program.
Okay, good. Thank you.
No problem. And then the board had also made a request with regards to the history of the site, specifically with the Breezy Point cooperative. We've actually submitted Sanborn maps as well as a plot card for the site. We've exhausted all of the DOB records associated with this property to try to get a little bit more of a background as far as the dimensions. And so we just wanted to clarify with the board what additional information you'd like us to submit.
I mean, I know Breezy Point is very, very unique compared to the rest of the city, and it has different since we have not dealt with that many Breezy Point cases, I would be of the understanding that there'd be some legal document that clearly says that each plot of land has been given to somebody, right?
We can probably have the actual cooperative make an affidavit asserting to something like that, if that's something that the board would accept. I just want to make sure that we provide everything that the board is requesting.
Yeah, and the other important part is, I don't know if the Breezy Point Cooperative gives you the ability to park in someone else's plot of land. If it does, you need to bring that out because that goes towards your parking waiver. You're asking the board in good faith to waive the parking requirement. What if the other property owner changes and decides that that parking should only be for their exclusive use and not to be shared with any other entity? Then it would fail to meet the findings that we would be making today. Give us
Sorry.
document gives an absolute assurance that your parking would be accommodated and there is an agreement between that property owner.
So is there, I mean, if I could ask this question, so Breezy Point Cooperative owns all the land, not the individual property owners. They only own their buildings. We own our building, but they own the land. We have a lease with the Breezy Point Cooperative. And in that lease, it requires them to always provide the parking, but also it can't be taken because they already own the property. So they're not going to take from themselves and reassign it to themselves. But we do have a lease in effect for $1 a year that's been in effect since 1960 on this property. And in there, it does talk about some of this stuff. I don't know if that would be helpful.
I think that would be helpful if you can provide that document. That would actually clear most of the questions that I have with regards to the parking, and you can put that in your statement also.
Will do. And then this actually brings us to one of the last comments that the board had made with regards to the environmental. We have retained GZA to assist with the EAS, and so they will be reaching out to Tracy just to make changes to the short form that was submitted, as well as providing all of the necessary submissions for the EAS as a whole. Once they run their traffic study, I think that there's a lot of that information that we can incorporate into our findings as well.
Okay. I think, so with regards to the plans, those dimensions that I was.
Yes. And so with that, I'm actually going to hand it over to Gensler's team so they can actually share their plans, and then we can go through the board's comments with a fine tooth comb and just make sure we submit correctly next time around as far as dimensions. And I think that there was some confusion as far as the zoning analysis form. So I think we want to clear that up.
Right. So the zoning analysis, it should be for the entire zoning lot. And in this case, the zoning lot includes the 2 existing buildings, the rectory and the church. And so your total zoning floor area should be the zoning lot, including the existing plus the proposed.
So I believe that was submitted originally, and then there was some discussion at the last hearing with regards to really making sure that we clarify what is happening with the gym specifically, which is why we've submitted this zoning analysis to just include that building, so we can show you what the existing looks like versus what the building height looks like, because then it can get confusing with regards to the heights of all 3 buildings.
Fair enough.
We can
just for that, but I think for the total zoning analysis for the zoning lot, it can be done in ways which shows the entirety of the site.
Okay.
Proposed entirety of the site, what is the proposed floor area, proposed existing and proposed, everything total combined, and then specifically to that building, what are the waivers, additional waivers that is required. So you can have a 3rd column specifically for the gym building and indicate where the encroachment is for the yards, courts, and the heights. And
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Would it be helpful to have a breakout page that shows square footage, building height, yards, and setback for each individual building? And then, sorry, the form and the total zoning analysis will be for all 3 buildings on a single lot.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's hard to hear you.
So the only thing where only for the total floor area, I don't want the breakdown of the other 2 buildings. I just want the total floor area on the entire zoning lot, including the existing, because we are not ruling
Just to be clear, the zoning analysis form should be, and contrary to what I said at the last hearing, I realized, this should be for the entire site.
Yeah,
That's what the chair is asking for, but then a separate breakout chart, I guess, in the drawings for the building in question only.
right.
Okay, so just for the gym, the existing gym building and the new gym building for comparison.
Yeah,
Got it. Okay.
there's
Easy
no,
to do.
don't want any more information than we need to with regards to the existing building. We just
Okay.
want to proposed.
Okay.
And then I believe that there was some requests for dimensions, which we will provide to the board. Is there any specific dimensions that the board is looking for?
I think this goes more to the site plan where, you're showing the area of encroachment. The proposed area of encroachment, it would be good, needs to indicate what these areas of encroachment for pursuant to which zoning resolution section. So I was just talking to Ms. Prenga, and what we'll do is we'll give you a sample that, so that you can indicate those on the plan.
Perfect. And then finally, I believe that the Commissioner you had made a mention with regards to the side yard and pushing that back to make it 5 feet. I believe we took a brief look at it, and Sean, if you want to pull up the plans or the survey. Right, if they end up making the side yard 6 feet, I believe it's going to push the building 2 feet.
You're breaking up.
Breaking up
It would push us 1 foot
To where
further
a
to
very
the east.
narrow way.
Like Alexis.
Alexia, you're breaking up.
Let Mr.
Hi,
Aya,
can you?
maybe Mr. Aya could respond.
I can jump in here, Amanda Iannotti. I think what Alexia was saying is if we push the building 1 foot east as requested by Commissioner Yoon, there's a pinch point there with a little jut from the church building that would then, right now, with it at 5 feet, has a clearance of 5 feet 10 inches between the buildings. If we move it, it would be a clearance of 4 feet 10 inches. There's just concern there about, interior access on the site, or emergency services. 4 feet 10 inches is pretty tight. I mean, it's already tight, but it would be even tighter.
The thing I want to ask you, Chair, is that there's an existing condition that is a 6 foot wide side yard. That's basically the northern half of the site. My request was to match that because the required side yard is 16 foot something, 16'7", I think. 1 foot, we could squeeze the building a couple inches to get them what they need. Or we can keep the 5 foot side yard that they're proposing.
So I think based on the programmatic need argument, they've already seemed to have compromised the runoff area for the courts and, standard requirement is 10. It's been pinched already to 6 foot. So only other alternative will be moving the building further to the left. That would again result in the building being much closer to the residential building that is located to the left. And I think while
You're okay with a 5 foot side yard, I'll drop the issue.
I think the reason, because of those arguments, I'm kind of like, yes, I agree with you. It would be ideal to have a continuous, what you're recommending, it would be the ideal solution, but the bulk being away from the residential is preferred than bulk being closer to the residential.
That's why I'm asking for a 6 foot side yard. But they're coming back and saying, it's a matter of inches now. We're talking what the appropriate clearance would be. Let's say it's 5 feet, 5 foot change, so we're just talking about inches.
We're talking about inches.
Yeah.
And right
And I
now-
appreciate that the program's already compromised spatially. I appreciate that. I'm just trying to make a contextual decision here with Chair.
Yeah, I'm Well, I have a question. Is there any way you can make it 5 foot? Would that be too difficult?
The side yard is 5 feet.
No, 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 no. On the right-hand side, it's the distance is 5 foot 10 inches. If you were to make it 5 foot, would that be too difficult? That means shifting the building to 5 foot 10 inches on the left to 5 foot on the right. Would that be too difficult to do? Will
Sean, would that also shift the access passageway though? Because right now the access passageway butts up against the rectory. So then there would also be, well, I guess we could extend the passageway. We wouldn't want to put a 10-foot,
We
break.
could look at how close that pinch is between the existing stairs that come out of the church entry.
Okay, so you're okay with that. Okay, in that,
I think it would extend the passageway 10 feet and then move the building 10 feet closer to the church. The interior passageway there would just be decreased the whole lineup.
Right. And then if it's okay just to say a quick thing about the basketball, the sports runoff distances, while we're measuring what you see here is 5 feet, 6 feet, that's to the wall surface. And we consider it a safety issue. Columns for the structure will be inboard of that. So while there is generally 6 feet or 5 feet on the ends for the areas where the columns are, they will be padded, but at the same time, they will be probably 1.5 feet shorter. So every few inches that we take from the overruns, not that the court is unsafe, but it becomes a little riskier for bigger kids who are running faster. And that's why the 10-foot is not a set regulation by any sports governing body. It's a best practice for player safety.
okay. Okay, I'm sympathetic to the present situation and let it be there.
Let it be.
I-
Let it be.
Yeah, I understand the pinch points and unnecessarily adding to the cost of construction to provide a more uniform to expand that. And I don't know if you can align it. Can you align that, keeping that same dimension but then you don't have a continuous, so here's a question I have. You leave that annex area where it is. You don't need to move that annex area. Can you move the rest of the building just by 10 inches? Will that misalign anything?
Be closer to the.
Yeah, but it would be still 5 foot from the rectory. Yeah,
Madam Chairman, if I could, when shifting it to the right towards the church, what will then happen is you increasing the hallway width that is the main corridor that goes out to the street level towards Rockaway Point Boulevard. Doing so, you're increasing the footprint of the area, increasing the square footage of the construction space, which is adding additional construction costs to the project, which were not anticipated.
no, I'm not asking for that. I'm saying that let the annex be where it is, what you're proposing. There would be no change to the location of the annex or the annex area. Only thing I'm suggesting is just moving that gym area, but just by 10 inches. So
Oh, shift the box over 10 inches.
that's it. There's no change in the program, nothing. So you end up still getting a 5 foot distance from the church, which should be instead of a 5 foot 10, and you allow for a little bit more separation from the side yard on the left-hand side. And leave the corridor as is. You would still maintain I
think it's gonna take some interior redesign work because you can see where now that doesn't line up with that the elevator. Yeah.
But
It's
does
10
it,
that's 10 inches. I think we could, I don't think we're too early to say that 10 inches can't be accommodated in that interior design, I think.
I think it's more of a structural issue when you come into flood mitigation and things of that sort with this small corner here and things of that sort, because the design of the structure is a continuous wall.
Donnie, that's correct. And also we have to keep in mind that you move the building closer to the church. I'm not going to approve that because we need to get light to the stained glass windows. And we have to maintain on the side of that church drainage because we're on sand. So the closer that building goes to the church, it starts to compromise some of the elements that are being preserved on the church itself, which may not really show on paper.
So there are stained glass windows along that frontage, along that side?
Yes, and which is why we did not attach the gym to that side of the church, and we left, if you will, that little alleyway so that we can get air and light in there and not block up the windows. The rectory is not an issue, but the church would be, yeah, you can see them there. So moving it closer than what already is existing, it works. Moving it closer, we're now getting into something new. And we would have to look at that to see if that would fly with the trustees and the people.
Okay, maybe I can suggest something. 10 inches across this expanse is quite minimal. It is not an interior design problem. It's too early to say that. It's not a structural problem. It's too early to say. It's 10 inches on a 90-foot wide building. But given that I am splitting hairs one way, I also think it's splitting hairs the other way. So we can leave it as is. I just wanted to bring it up because it's something that we look at when we look at side yard waivers. But that's now where I'm going back.
Okay,
Not the hill you wanted.
okay.
Not the hill you want to fight.
I think the program needs the space and it is quite tight.
Okay.
And it does seem to be a minimal response. I just wanted to make sure we address the contextual precedent and that we're just addressing that issue. That's all.
Right.
Okay.
Fair enough. I think I appreciate Commissioner Yoon's consideration. I do agree with Commissioner Yoon that it's not going to be that difficult, but the programmatic need is very tight, and we definitely don't want to take away anything from the programmatic need. And honestly, we don't know much about the site detail, about the drainage condition of the existing site and how much, where the drains are and other. And the proposed building is going to be 30-foot high, even though it's set 5 foot 10 inches back from the rectory, it is going to be much taller than the one-story building that is there. So the windows are going to be blocked by the 30-foot high building that is being proposed, where the one-story is. So it is already a change that's going to happen. So a 10-inch shift is not going to be that much. I don't want to belabor this part of it. Yeah. So if you superimpose the one-story building, a portion of the building is one story, that's when it's going to be 30 foot. So yeah, that's the difference. I would though request that you provide a much more opening of light or well or something along that frontage, because that is a very solid high wall on the side lot line, so that you can make it look lighter in appearance for the residential building next to it. If you're going to maintain that, then give it some lightness.
Madam Chair, that's noted. The homeowner that's there requested that no windows be on that wall, and he wants us to landscape it, which we're going to do.
Okay, all right.
We can see.
You can put a cover letter with all those statements clarifying that.
Will do.
So, Ms. Landesman, in your statement, just go through this argument of why you cannot shift it and the reasons all laid out.
Will do. We'll make that argument. I believe that was really the extent of the board's comments with regards to what we need to provide. I think that we'll probably make those dimensions once we get a sample from the board, and then send it over to Jella prior to making a formal submission, just to make sure that we don't, go back and forth with this, and we provide all of the materials correctly.
Okay. And since you said your neighbor next door wants landscaping in your plan, please indicate the landscaping that is being proposed along that lot line. Because I don't think I saw one, since we were told it's a very difficult place to plant anything, given it's a flood zone. So please add those plantings.
Yeah, apparently there were cypress trees all along there that got wiped out during Hurricane Sandy, and he wants them back. So we promised him we would put them back.
That's wonderful. Just then revise the site plan to indicate that and provide the kind of landscaping and the depth, all of the information on the plan. Okay.
Noted. Yes.
Okay.
To the public.
Yes, let's go to the public.
So the case that we're currently discussing is 2024-21 BZ 20425 Rockaway Point Boulevard, Queens. Should you wish to comment on this case, dial 669-254-5252. Enter you at the prompt, you will enter the webinar ID number 160-067-1814 and press the pound sign. At the next prompt after that, you'll press the pound sign. Only. Once you're allowed in, you'll press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute as you are calling in on the phone. And if you're in the Zoom room already and wish to participate, please raise your Zoom hand, which is the little hand at the bottom of your computer screen. Once you are recognized in any format, you will have 3 minutes in which to discuss.
Okay, how much time would you need? What is the status of SECRA? Because the I think, as Ms. Benke pointed out, comments were sent in June, and there has been no response to those comments. Please note, we have a tremendous backlog of SECRA review, as you know from your other cases, and in order to get online, you need to respond to those comments so that we can share those comments with our sister agencies. And
Yes.
until there's no way we can vote this application out.
So understood. I actually spoke with Kevin Williams from GZA, who's been recently retained on this matter, and he said that he would get all of the EAS and the secret documents sorted as fast as possible. I believe that 3 months would be a normal turnaround to get all of our materials back to the board as well as his materials, so we can actually have make substantial progress with the environmental. So I believe our request is 3 months. So we can just, instead of going back and forth with the board, and troubling you in that way, we'd rather have everything,
Okay.
tidied up.
All right. So that would be January.
January.
We have the calendar for January. I don't have it in front of me.
So
Later
have-
part of January?
January 6th, 7th, the latter part is 27-28 with a submission date of January 9th.
I think that should work. I'll double check with Kevin, but I think that should be fine. And then we can definitely make our submission way before that. So it's really just going to rely on GZA.
If you need a little more time, the next hearing will be January 27, 28 with a submission of January 9th. So you could just let the project manager know. We'll reach out to you in a day or two, and you just confirm the date for us.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Costanza, thank you for affirming what Ms. Matias said. All right, thank you all for coming in and making the matter much clearer. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for your time.
Take care, everyone.
My calendar now. Hold on. Okay. The
think the
next item is 2024-22 BZ 1780 Grand Concourse, the Bronx.
This would be Lisa Orantia, assuming. Oh, just
None of Wells.
And Jessica. Is Lisa also part of it, right? Is Lisa part of this? Yes.
Yes, and Sandy,
Is she?
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Hmm? I know, right? Everyone, oh, no, I'm ready. Sandy? Lisa? Anyone else, Miss Sarantia?
No.
Okay. Okay, everyone raise their right hands. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to board member questions?
Yes, I do.
Please state your name for the record and proceed to respond to the board's comments at review session. Whoever's the lead.
I'm going to let Jessica go ahead and address the comments from Commissioner Otley Brown.
Okay, sure. I can start. Hi, good afternoon. This is Jessica Corus from Corus Consulting here on behalf of the applicant. We were in attendance at the review session and heard the comments regarding the project and just walk through them, make sure that we're addressing them fully and completely in our upcoming response. So we heard just the board's concern about the disconnect between the argument on the square footage and the core leading to disruption in rentable space. But unfortunately, the plans and the financials show another thing. I've always rented the square footage on a gross square foot basis. Ackerman and I plan to coordinate with one another and tweak the argument as directed to address that there's not necessarily a loss in space, but focus more on the efficiency of the floor plates, the marketability, expressing it in a higher vacancy and lease up. And that'll show that there is still a need for this proposed development. So Lisa and I will work on that together to make sure we're on the same page.
Express it as a lower rent, a slightly lower rent because it's not as marketable, because it's not as efficient. So I would say use those variables to make that point.
Okay.
Thank you. That's helpful. Moving on to the financial analysis and the letter we prepared.
Let me interrupt 1 second, just for the record, Commissioner is absent?
Yes.
Is absent. So please proceed, Ms. Corus.
Okay, thank you. I hope he's all right. So we did hear your concern about the effective age of the building, not actually reflecting the obsolescence of the building. And furthermore, the conflict between the statement of facts and findings. And I'll definitely be taking a second look at this and appreciate the opportunity to do so. There'll be a thorough review on a number of points related to this. There'll be the NYSORB table, making sure that we're using the right one. I'll provide you with more details of the alterations over the years with links to what I can find online. And then, of course, an explanation of the effective building age being closer to 100 years old. So I appreciate the review and the comments on that and really will make this crystal clear in the next submission. Same on the parking line item. I apologize for the confusion. And again, I'll provide a very detailed and explicit breakdown of the income related to monthly parking, hourly parking that are transient, any expenses and vacancy and management fees. And that'll be broken down really clearly in the narrative so you can see how we arrived at those line items. And
total number of parking spaces.
yeah, oh yeah. That's that we worked really hard as a team to make sure we were providing the right number, and then it, it will be crystal clear, like I said. And then, of course, all this will change and be updated accordingly in a letter response to the BSA.
I think those were the only questions we have. Let's go to the public. Where is that?
It's up the screen if anyone wants to read it out.
Okay. So anyone,
Does Joe want to read it?
Jella, do you want to read it or I?
Oh, hi, sorry, I apologize, didn't realize Tony stepped away. If any member of the public would like to provide testimony on this application, the calendar number is 2024-22BZ. The address is 1780 Grand Concourse in the borough of the Bronx. Please, you may join in by dialing in via telephone at 669-254-5252. The Zoom webinar ID is 160-067-1814, and the passcode is 965391. So that is the way to enter through the Zoom app. And then once you enter, you press pound. And then once you're in the Zoom room, you can press *9 to raise your hand. And once you're called upon to speak, you may press *6 to unmute.
I've started the timer for the 3 minutes.
Thank you. Just curious, how long will it take for you to make these corrections?
Sure, I only need a couple weeks at the most. And
So we will schedule this because of our lineup and with that midweek and with very little gap between the 2 November hearings. I will schedule this for December 9th, 10th. That should give you enough time to get everything aligned and also revise the statement of facts accordingly. Facts and findings.
Submission date is November 21st for December 9th hearing, 9/10. Is that enough time?
Yeah,
About 1 minute left.
that works for me.
okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you, yeah, sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we will take this case and then we'll go for a lunch break and come back to the new case. We have been at it continuously since 10 o'clock without any lunch. Okay, next case, please.
Next, oh no, the clock hasn't finished.
No, it went off. The alarm went off.
Oh, okay, fine, thank you, according to what you said. Item number 27, 2024-24BZ, 1224 Avenue V, Brooklyn.
This would be Miss Altman. She's in the room already.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, good afternoon. Raise your right hand. Do you, first of all, is anyone with you?
Nope, just me.
Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board and to respond honestly to the board member questions?
Of course.
Please state your name for the record and proceed to respond to the board's comments at review session.
Good afternoon, Larry J. Altman from the Office of Lara Altman. I did attend your executive session this morning. I believe you are satisfied.
Yep, we were. Thank you. Let's go to the public.
Ooh, sorry about that. Okay. The case we are currently discussing is 2024-24BZ, 1224 Avenue V, Brooklyn. Complete those numbers. Dial, if you wish to comment on this case, please dial 669-254-5252. At the prompt, you will enter the webinar ID number 160-067-1814 and press the pound sign. At the next prompt, you will press the pound sign only. Once permitted in, you will press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute if you're calling in on the phone. And if you're in the Zoom room already, please raise your Zoom hand, which is the little hand at the bottom of your computer screen. Once you are recognized, you'll have 3 minutes in which to discuss. Dun, dun, dun,
We need the Jeopardy music.
dun, 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 dun.
Oh,
How does that say that the proceeding city will be brief?
Yeah, no, but hold on, if he's gonna be brief, you're in it.
is he going to be
If he's
brief?
gonna be brief, he says, if he's gonna say, I'm just gonna submit, then let him have his moment. Oh, sorry.
Are you all okay with it?
I didn't
Okay.
know,
All right.
No, he just sent an email.
Okay, all right.
He
but we're
said,
gonna hold him to it, though.
based on the review,
I apologize, I thought he was talking about the.
no.
I
Yeah,
didn't know we were.
all right, so do you want me to read? It says, based on the review, we will click with the 87th Street if the board wants to proceed.
Okay,
We clearly need to review the A finding. It's better to address questions in a future submission.
okay,
Full. Okay,
You're not under.
okay. That's fine.
I agree.
okay, clock is done.
All right. We are going to make I want to make a recommendation to close this application. Motion to close, please.
Chair Shonda,
Aye.
Commissioner Vice Chair Shabeta,
Aye.
Commissioner Otley Brown,
Aye.
Commissioner Sheta,
Absent.
oops, that's right. And Commissioner Yoon.
Aye.
And we'll schedule this for November 21st decision.
Thank you so
November-
much.
That November 20, is it November 21st or 18/19? Which one is it?
1819.
Sorry, 18/19. I just created a new decision. No, we're not doing a
Special
special.
hearing just for my vote? Why, thank you.
Sorry,
no.
November 18,
Sorry
19
about that.
decision. Sorry about that. Okay,
No
thank you.
problem.
Thank you very much.
Have a great day. Happy early Halloween.
Happy holidays. New cases, item number 28, 2023 64 BZ 14408 87th Road, Queens.
I think Mr. Dale should be in the room. No, he's not. Change and Jessica also.
Yeah.
Okay.
Todd and Jessica.
I let them in, both of them. Yeah.
Mr. Dale, Mr. Corus, Ms. Corus is joining you.
Yes, she's here. I don't know if she has any quick questions, but.
You said you were going to be quick, but okay. Raise your right hand.
Promise, and I appreciate the pivot by the board.
I will hold you to it. Do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth in your testimony before this board, and to respond honestly to board member questions?
I do so affirm.
Yes, I do.
Please
Thank you.
state your name for the record and proceed.
Hi, Todd Dale for the applicant. We did listen to review session. It's clear that the threshold finding, the A finding, needs to be addressed. We understood and heard all the board's comments. So we will provide in an upcoming submission additional analysis that helps substantiate the A finding as a threshold finding, including additional review of configuration of the lot and obsolescence. And we're of the belief that once we are able to meet that finding for the board, that we will be able to meet the other findings. Just briefly, I will also note that we will address the issue of the certificate of harassment that was brought up. And with respect to self-created hardship, we did provide the historical map, but we can also do a single and separate search to help substantiate that map. With respect to the financial analysis, I'll defer to Jessica if she has any specific questions or if she is able to review the video from the hearing and address the questions that were raised by the board. So Jessica, I don't know if you have any questions.
Yes, hi, good afternoon again. Jessica Corus here on behalf of the applicant. I just thank you for your review and comment. To keep it brief, we will take another listen to the tape and make sure we're addressing all the comments. I know that there was a lot and will be less careless in the future. So I do appreciate your thought and effort that went into this.
Okay. I want to give enough time for you to make this question. I have to say I am very skeptical about this meeting A. But give it a shot. I would schedule this, how much time you would need to? put
I
this-
would say we can be flexible with the board's calendar, but based on the limited number of hearings the rest of the year, I don't think we would need a hearing before January of next year. I think there's only 3 or 4 hearings the rest of the year. So if we were able to obtain a January hearing, I believe that would be sufficient time, and we could be flexible on which January hearing the board chooses.
And please go through all our comments. We did raise extensive comments, especially with regards to SRO. All of those documents have to be provided, clarified, self-created hardship, everything.
Understood. Yeah, well, the self-created, the SR will do, but definitely focus on the A finding as a threshold finding, because we believe that will allow the board to review and find that the other 4 findings are met.
But I think SRO is a critical part of it, even also as we are reviewing the A finding.
Understood.
Do you want to give them a date or?
Later part of January, second
So-
part of January.
27, 28, so that would be January 9th submission. Can you do that?
That would be fine. It's January 9th and January 27th.
It's January 9th submission for a February 27, 28 hearing
January,
date.
January 27, 28.
I'm sorry, January 27, 28 hearing date. The submission date would be January 9th.
Understood. Yes, that will be fine.
Okay.
Thank you, and thank you for the pivot. I just felt it was more efficient based
Happy-
on the review section.
Public, we have to go to the public.
Got to follow the rules. Okay. The case we're currently discussing is 2023-64BZ 144-08 87th Road in Queens. Should you be interested in commenting on this case, please dial 669-254-5252. At the prompt, you will enter the webinar ID number 160-067-1814 and press the pound sign. At the next prompt, you will press the pound sign only. Once you're permitted in, you'll press *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute as you're calling in on the phone. And if you're in the Zoom room already and wish to participate or comment, please raise your Zoom hand, which is the little hand at the bottom of your screen. Once you are recognized in any format, you will be given 3 minutes in which to speak.
I don't see anybody's hand being raised.
Nope. Almost done.
Okay. All right. Thank you all.
Thank you.
See you January 27, 28 for the hearing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Nothing else, right?
No.
Okay. That being said, the record is closed. I'm sorry.
No,
The
no.
hearing is closed. Thank you.
Bless you. Thanks.
I'll tell you, I need lunch.
Yes.
This is the, all cases are closed. The Board of Standards and Appeals hearing is finished. Thank you, one and all.